Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We'll call the meeting of the Liberty County Board of Commissioners to order. Make sure, Mr. IT, I'm still good? All right, so thank you, sir. Mr. Brown, has the meeting been properly advertised?
Yes, sir, it has.
Yes, sir. Good to see everyone. Thanks for coming. For those of you we haven't seen, Happy New Year to you. Those of you who are observing us on Facebook Live, it's good to have you to stay up with the county and what we're doing. Liberty County has a lot of positive things that are going on, and we're glad to be a part of it and glad to have you as a citizen to participate. Keep your eyes on the county. In spite of COVID, there's a lot of movement. Mr. Brown and I were talking on today and yesterday. He was telling me how many projects we had. I made him count them out to me. So I could confirm that we had that many projects in queue. So a lot of good things are going on in the county, so you'd be proud of, and we're moving the county forward as best that we can. So thank you for your support during the years. At this time, we're going to ask Mr. Mosley if he will come and do our prayer for us and our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand now for the prayer and Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Gracious and most kind and benevolent Father, we thank you for this beautiful day and all that you've done for us. We thank you for this new year. And we pray, Father God, as this August body transact the business community, you continue to give them divine wisdom and insight as they deliberate the business of this community. We pray for those, Father, who are struggling in this pandemic. Pray that you be with them and strengthen them. These and all other blessings we ask in your precious, pointed, and powerful name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. We'll move right along. We'll say for your information, Commissioners Frazier and Jones, who are both employed at D.S. Smith, formerly known as Interstate Paper Company, are tied up at that very fine facility. One or both of them are going to try to call in when they can, but that's why they are not present. But they have given us our marching orders. Commissioner Jones asked if we stand in his place for the Habersham Plantation presentation that has come for us. Okay. If you do that, we'd appreciate that. All right?
Mr. Chairman, just a moment. I know we had mentioned the loss in our community of Mr. Schumann way back some time ago, but I just think we are to remember the Ginner family. Mr. Ginner worked here in Liberty County, started here, his military career, and then he got out and did shop at Bradwell, and then he moved right along then into building inspections and did a fine job and retired. He passed away here in the last couple of weeks, but his dad was really instrumental in the VFW and different things around us. I just want us to take time when we can to remember the things that he has done and the time that he spent with me is very important, and I know with other young men and young women in Liberty County through the Boy Scouts. So his contribution will last for a long time.
Thank you, sir. We would duly note that in our records. Thank you, sir. All right. Mr. Long, are you ready for your report, sir?
I was just thinking, I'm not used to having come up this quick. I used to having Kim and, there's a buffer of Kim in front of me for a little while. So it was, yeah, I'm going to try to go
I
fast.
want you to get used to.
So I'm not going to read everything to you. There's a couple things that I do want to point out. The Trade Hill drainage, y'all gave me permission to talk to the property owner, and I've had COVID issues. He's had COVID issues, so we're finally meeting tomorrow. So that way we can kind of get that worked out. So I didn't want y'all to think that that's just sitting still. Bill Carter Road, we took bids on that earlier this week. Not looking for a action tonight. Our lowest bid was from APAC Atlantic for $852,000. Our budget was around $550,000.
Oh, my goodness.
We're going to be looking at funding and what we need to do for this before we bring it back to you guys. Hopefully, I'll be able to have that worked out before the regular meeting in February. Try to get this thing going, because we really need to do something with that road. It's falling apart faster and faster. Lost where I was. We are working with the guys that are doing the Palm Drive and Point South. They do know that they're in liquidated damages. They're at $7,200 as of today. They are working on the job site. They didn't mill out a couple of places yesterday in anticipation for the rain today or tomorrow, so that it didn't have a weekend full of a bird bath, so to speak. So they'll be back out Monday milling more and trying to get the asphalt down, and they're working fast on that. And their bonding company has been notified. So just wanted you to know that that's going on.
Okay.
And short of that, I'll open it up for any questions you may have.
Gum Branch.
You just identified it needs to be done quick. You said that it's getting beat up.
Oh, Bill Carter Road, it's deteriorating.
What is our guidelines on that as far as regulations of truck weight on that road? I mean,
We do not, that road is not weight limited at this point. But the typical section that's out there, it'll handle some trucks, but the amount of traffic that we've had on it over the years, it's just the repetitiveness has worn it out. And what we're doing to it, when we do the full depth reclamation and the asphalt that we got going on it, it will handle the truck traffic when we're finished. And it'll handle, because it acts kind of like a little midway bypass, so to speak, for people cutting through. So it'll handle the traffic for the foreseeable future.
the long trucks is what I'm talking about. And I know they're supposed to use state routes, is that correct?
They are, but they do come through there.
Signage that's up down there, Commissioner Stevens, it says,
No, but log trucks, I've seen 3 of them today come through loaded with logs today. Now,
I'm
what
not
about
aware
the
of
weight
any
on the
sign
bridge?
That prohibits it.
Trent, what about the weight limit on the bridge down at Peacock?
Right now, it's not weight limited yet either.
Nothing.
No. And, you know, that's the bridge that is on schedule to be replaced by the Department of Transportation.
Right.
And I think it's a year out before it gets going, and it'll be widened and replaced, and, you know, it'll meet the standards for truck traffic.
Now, I am aware that if they are cutting, like off Robert Hill Road over there, going out loaded, but these trucks I seen today, they are turning off of 84, using it as a
They use it as
shortcut to
cut through.
come through, then hit Louis Frazier and going out, and they should not be doing that.
And actually, it doesn't save you much time. So,
But if DOT, if they catches them, it's gonna save them a lot of time.
there you go. Yes, sir. Anything else?
But just one, go ahead, Connie.
I was gonna, the
Gum
Gum
Branch,
Branch
we had a
bids.
pre-bid meeting today.
Uh-huh.
We're probably going to push it out a week or so. We had a couple of questions that I need to address. But it's out for bids right now, and we're trying to address comments for the contractors and get that going.
Okay, so it's out for bid,
Yes, ma'am.
but what are you trying to do then? You're
They had
just
some
waiting on them to come back
questions.
in?
We had a pre-bid,
Uh-huh.
pre-bid meeting today at 2. Had a couple of contractors that came, and they had some questions about some grading and how we were doing some stuff, and we're going to make some modifications and send it back out just for our betterment. And, so, but we'll probably, in doing so, I may have to push the date back a week or 2 to make it work.
Okay,
Commissioner,
got
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Yeah, Trent, I was just looking on your report, track lane, I just wanted to, I see that you have made some moving on there, and that's real good. I just wanted to make sure that we can, you know, expedite that as soon as we can. That'll be my last ditch effort for the citizens of Homestown. I said that I was gonna go around the loop and try to get every road paved in there, and I'm gonna do that. And when I leave out of there, Next year, this time, it'll be in the capable hands of hopefully Commissioner Stevens, but I'm trying to get them all where I can.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Long, how about expedite all roads in
In
Homestead?
his district, so they're paid when you get them?
As far as the money goes, this is the last one.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Understand.
We really don't care if we finish that one up. Commissioner Gilbert said that'll just mean we'll be splitting it a little bit more.
Yes, sir. All right.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sure. LCPC, Ms. Sanchez.
Thing always slow. Good afternoon.
Hello.
I'm going to try to speak clearly into this because I know it's hard with a mask
So
on.
far, so good.
So far, good. Let me know, holler if you can't hear me well enough. I'm here to present a final plat for the Colonies at Habersham Plantation Phase 3C. And the owner is Habersham Development Group, and T.R. Long did the engineering. This, like the previous phases, is final platting just 8 lots on 7.35 acres. This is off of Wilkins Road, which is off of Habersham and Leroy Cooper. This is a general outline of the Phase 3, outlined in red here. We're talking, this phase of 3C is battened down on this corner here. There we go. So this is the overall plan for Phase 3. This includes those extra three lots that were added to the preliminary plat on the end here. So these are all 8 lots, and what we're looking at here is the area down here in purple. This is the actual plat that I've just added colors to and put some more information on. So here again, these are the 8 lots. They range in size from 22,000 to 29,000 square feet of usable area. What's in green here is about an acre of land just under, includes a pond. It's going to be dedicated to the HOA. And then in yellow here is going to be dedicated to the county. It is the standard 60-foot right-of-way for the road, and then there's just a little bit extra over here between what would be the standard 60-foot right-of-way and the southern property line. It's similar to what they did in Phase 3B, where the right-of-way there is a little bit wider, just by virtue of where it lies between the property line, the proximity to the property line. So this, as I mentioned, it is a 55-lot subdivision, and all the phases have been for 8 lots, and then each lot will be served by a community water service that's already in place, and will be served also by on-site septic systems, and the Liberty County Health Department will be signing off on the plat. And there's also a note on the plat that requires their approval prior to issuance of a construction permit. I'm sorry, this clicker isn't working very well. There we go. Went too far. Sorry, there we go. So dedications to the county include, more specifically, not .22 feet, that is actually supposed to be .22 miles, of new street. That yellow area, which incorporates the right-of-way and the adjacent land, 1.68 acres, and then the drainage system within the right-of-way, which is ditches. There's no real infrastructure there, it's just the ditches. And other dedications include that 1-acre community lot to the HOA, and drainage easements to the HOA or the property owner for all the other drainage easements that are outside of the right-of-way of the street. The sidewalks and street trees are not yet in. They are guaranteed in the form of cash in an escrow account for $26,243. And then there's a 2-year maintenance bond in place, not a bond, it also is in an escrow account for $9,277.65. LCPC staff recommendation is approval with standard conditions for the final plat for the Colonies at Habersham Plantation Phase 3C. And I'm happy to answer any questions. The engineer and the property owner are here as well.
Any questions about this proposal? Approval is recommended from LCPC.
I know we're supposed to stand in for our fellow commissioner, and his first question would be, of course, the runoff. He was real concerned in the other phases on that. And of course, Trent has assured us that that's taken care of. Now, I'm sure that it is. He wouldn't have had his stamp on it, but we, when we started that particular area right there, Trent, you said it was gonna be 8 lots, and now it's increased to 25 lots, is that right? This particular area here, is it always gonna be that many lots?
Adam Wilkinson with Tier Long Engineering. Are you talking about the phases coming forward that we're going to plat 8 lots at a time?
No, before these lots was put in, how many lots was gonna go in that area? I thought that was gonna be larger lots.
It was,
Hey there, I'm Charles Way, I'm the applicant. This was, on the original construction plans, it was 28 lots. And most of those were over an acre in size. So we did a new set of construction plans and a new plat for 52 lots. And then those extra 3 lots that Marty pointed out, I acquired those from the neighboring property owner and added those. Now, they have not been subdivided yet. They're only preliminary platted.
But the retention pond that was in question, that was what, Commissioner Jones wanted to make sure
Yes.
that it had been sized.
I was trying to keep a little level of separation and let Adam produce, but when the pond that's in the middle,
Right.
far exceeds, it was an old bar pit there before.
Right.
And so it far exceeded the requirements for meeting the stormwater runoff from pre-development to post-development. I think if you remember, there used to be like a ditch just cut straight across it. And so all that land that the 900 acres that Harry Rogers and them bought, that all flowed through this ditch straight into the wetlands and went over to Phillipsville Road and went out that direction. So what we did years ago, this was back in 2007-ish timeframe, they took and we rediverted all that water that used to go to Phillipsville Road into this big old pond that was in the middle of the project that used to be a bar pit from years ago. So instead of all that water just going straight through the pit and straight on, now it goes through this big detention facility and goes around. And we also have a pretty good sized pond on the, you saw how the road kind of comes around? Then there's like a big ditch, and all on the right, there's another big pond on that side as well that holds stormwater. So those facilities will handle, they're all almost set up to buffer almost 1,000 units. From when other things get built in the future phases of Habersham that probably aren't going to get built anytime soon, that was all set up for that master plan that we did for Habersham Plantation back in 2007 timeframe.
And the reason I'm asking that is, you've got some of the subdivisions now, and one in particular that comes to mind when it comes a pretty good rain, every time you add that driveway and that roof, of course, that increases that flow, and I see what's happening where it goes underneath.
So, yes, there are a couple of drainage issues up in phase 1. Where some homeowners filled in their ditch,
I remember that.
and they've done some modifications to the drainage out.
You talking about,
As you turn into the subdivision,
right, that's where me and Commissioner Gillard looked at it. The pipes had not been cleaned.
I'm gonna get to it and show you. I think I'm gonna get to it and show you. Okay, there's a guy that lives in a house right here. He filled in his ditch all across the front, so a lot of this water was like spilling out into the roadway. And we had a similar situation up here where they filled in a pipe on one side of the driveway, and then the upstream neighbors couldn't drain, and it was filling out in the roadway. Now, I know that Mr. Zeckman has been in contact with those folks to get all that responded. Actually, Mr. Way has taken pictures. We tried to, get it all fixed and go through the proper channels to get some of the issues in this location fixed. Because he has some, all kinds of units and things that he's put in his yard, and it's quite a sight.
Well,
That's all occurred out here, outside of this and outside of that. And the way most of this works, there are several places where water comes from this road into this pond, and these ponds are interconnected, and they drain back and they're connected here, and this is all interconnected. So,
well, now, the whole project has not been turned over to the county at all. Am I correct?
so this section through here, phase one,
Right.
has. This section, phase two, is still under maintenance bond, all right?
Yes, it's still
Yep, we're still under maintenance bond here. And then these areas back here are still, well, what's completed are under performance and maintenance bond. So the areas that are under construction and doing what they're supposed to be doing are covered under bonds, or in this case, he's got most of his in a cash bond.
And that needs to be something, and Joey, I'm sure you can look at it, or the chairman, but, our building and inspections is out here to look at something that's already been built and accepted. Now, we've got a project that's not all the way done, right? I mean, we know that there's gonna be some
Oh, yeah.
issues in there that we don't really need our building inspector going out there. It needs to fall back on the developer. So when it's turnkey, everything is gonna be then under the HOA, that we won't have to be running back and through out there. Now, I know the building permit is one thing, the driveways and stuff like that, Trent, I understand all of that, but
Yeah,
as
now,
far as water, I mean, when it was inspected before, Clint went out there and looked at them. Because
And
we're right behind Clint looking at it.
yeah. And all the stuff in phase one has been done since the county took it over by the individual homeowners. So that was not done as part of the developers or part of the builder. And it was done illegally, so to speak.
Well, that was my question, Trent. You were saying that one of the homeowners, where you went up there and pointed, his roadside ditch, that's what we're talking about, he filled it in. Did he pipe it, or he just put dirt in it and just level off his yard?
Just piped it. I mean, he didn't put any pipe in it. He just leveled it off.
That's the third one, I believe we
It
went.
happened in Walthamville too.
Yeah, I mean, Joy, we got ordinance against that. I mean, I know in Hinesville, you're not supposed to. We pick it up every day, but you're not even supposed to rake your leaves and put it in a drainage way. I mean, so for someone to fill it in with dirt, I mean, you got to have somebody, if the water go this way, it's going to affect the people to the right.
It is.
I mean, the people to the left,
It affects your
they could
upstream.
care less, but good Lord, I mean, you can't do that.
No.
That individual owns some kind of construction company, so he has a skid steer and a small excavator at his house.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he could have he could have all the equipment in the world. He just violated the ordinance by filling in that ditch.
How
Yeah.
he did it so quickly without any, go out there all of a sudden, he's put a bunch of dirt in the ditch.
But that same equipment should be very helpful with him cleaning it.
I mean, that's some of the questions that,
Yeah.
we wanted to ask for him to make sure that, number one, that when it's said and done, it's gonna be a subdivision that, it's gonna add a lot into that area. But he don't want it to look like the one that's across the road that we've had some issues with. And,
Very true. Now, I'll also tell you that I know that Mr. Zeckman has filed something against a couple of neighbors in magistrate court. do not know what the results of that was.
Well,
We can find out. We can find out.
I just want to say, everything out there that I have developed, which is phase 2 and then phase 3A, B, and C, you go out there and none of that has any water standing in the streets. All of that is flowing like it's supposed to. All of the pipes that we've put in this phase 3 have got silt fence on all the upstream ends. We've got silt fence around the structures. And they'll stay protected like that until the builder puts sod down into the ditches. And of course, they're still under warranty. So I know that there are some issues in previous phases, but I do want to delineate.
Yours from there.
Yeah. Well, you know, with the forecast of rain tomorrow, that's going to be the first thought me and Commissioner Walden make tomorrow. It's best to see how your drainage work when it's raining, and we'll be there.
Go look what we're approving tonight, and you'll see ditches that have positive drainage in both
Right.
directions. They're silt
Good,
fence, and
good. Okay.
They'll be in good shape.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
sure he's listening to that, but
Yeah.
those are just things that we need to make sure of. I mean, when it finally does go downstream, and the retention ponds fill up, you know where they're going. Water's going straight to Phillipsville Road, and I think that's his district too.
It is.
So,
8:30, Eddie.
yeah.
We'll be there.
All righty. Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, could you go back to that last slide? Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that for approval with standard conditions for Plat for the Colonies at Habersham Plantation Phase 3C.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in approve, let me know by show of the right hand. Those opposed? All right, it's approved. Thank you.
Just remember this is recorded.
All right. Audit report, Malden and Jenkins.
Good evening.
Hey.
My name's Trey Scott with Malden and Jenkins. I was the partner who oversaw the audit of the county's June 30, 2021 financial statements, and pleased to be here with you all this evening to present the results of our audit. I think you've got a couple of 3 documents in front of you. The thicker of the 3 is your audited annual comprehensive financial report. And then you've got our auditor's discussion and analysis, which is the smaller one. And then probably have a copy of my presentation too, and that's what I'm going to be, I think, obviously presenting from today. So if you want to follow along with me. Just kind of the purpose of today's presentation is to just introduce you to Malden and Jenkins, who we are, give you an overview of our auditor's report, our compliance reports, and your financial statements. Go over some required communications with you, things that government auditing standards require me to communicate to you, and then some accounting recommendations, and then answer any questions that you may have. Just real quickly about Malden and Jenkins, we serve approximately a little over 565 governmental entities throughout the Southeast. We do that across 12 offices in 5 states. The office that serves you all is our Savannah, Georgia office. Provide over 120,000 hours annually to our governmental clients, and have over 140 governmental clients that receive the Certificate of Excellence for Achievement in Financial Reporting, like you all do from the Government Finance Officers Association. I think of particular importance to you all, though, is our audit opinion and our audit report. I think, as you all know, that big, thick ACFR is the responsibility of management. It's our responsibility as your auditor to provide opinions on that financial information based on our audit. And we do that by following generally accepted auditing standards and governmental auditing standards. And I'm pleased to report to you all this evening that we were able to issue the county a clean, or what we call an unmodified opinion. What that basically means is that your financial statements present fairly the financial position and the results of your operations as of June 30, 2021. And that's what you're looking for, is a clean opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that we can provide to you all. I think it's important to note, or something that, management, the finance department should certainly be commended for. We work primarily with the finance director, Kim, and her team, and they're very professional, get us what we need when we need it. and that's very refreshing from my standpoint as your auditor. I did kind of hint on that you present an annual comprehensive financial report. Just want to make sure you all are aware that that goes above and beyond just your general required reporting of a government. You present some additional sections within this act for your introductory section and your statistical section just outside of your basic financial statements. And this is submitted to GFOA, or the Government Finance Officers Association, every year as a part of their Certificate of Achievement program in financial reporting. And if you look down there at the bottom, this will be the 19th year that the county has received that certificate. You haven't received it yet. It's been submitted to GFOA, but we don't anticipate there being any issues with you all receiving that coveted award. And again, 19 years, that's certainly something that the Finance Department management certainly should be commended for as well.
Well, let's give them a hand then.
Sure. Outside of our audit report, we have a couple of compliance reports as well. One we call our Yellow Book report, and it's kind of a report on your internal controls and your compliance. It's not intended to provide an opinion, but it's where we would report any material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, instances of non-compliance. We did have a few of those. We'll go over those in a minute, but it's nothing new. It's some of the same ones that we've had for several years. And then your single audit report is a report on your internal controls and compliance as it relates to your federal grant programs. And we had no issues with your grant programs. There were no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies or instances of non-compliance as it related to your grants. Now, quick little run through of your financial statements. You present two sets of financial statements in that act. For a government-wide set of financial statements, which is kind of a 40,000-foot view, big picture view of the government or the county as a whole, something you really only see once a year in your ACFR. What you all deal primarily with is the fund level type information, your general fund, your individual SPLOST funds, your T-SPLOST fund, those special revenue funds. Those are the things I think you're generally used to seeing more on a day-to-day basis. But if we take a look at the government-wide as a whole, I'm not going to read these numbers to you. Did want to point out a few things. That next to last bullet down there, we talk about there's a $29.2 million unrestricted deficit. And a lot of people would take that and go, well, that's a terrible thing. Are we in some kind of financial crisis? And that's absolutely not the case. GASB requires us to report some very significant liabilities on your balance sheet at the government-wide level. And specifically, if you look up at that third to last bullet point there, I say you've got about $55.7 million in your net pension liability, so retirement benefits, and your other post-employment benefit liability that we have to report there as well. And those are incredibly long-term liabilities, things that we're going to pay out over years and years and years of time. So that alone, if we take a look at that, we take that out of the picture, that flips that deficit to about a $30 million, little less than $30 million unrestricted positive net position, so a positive bottom line. So again, nothing to be concerned about if you take a look at that and see that. Just wanted to make sure I pointed that out to you. And then down there at the very bottom, we did increase our net position or our bottom line at the government-wide level by about $5.1 million this year. If we flip over to the next, look a little bit at the general fund. Again, I'm not going to read all these to you. I will say this, looking at that third bullet point, $19.3 million in unassigned fund balance. That's very strong and a very good financial position for your general fund. Because if I go all the way down to that last bullet point, we've got approximately 7 months of expenditures in general fund balance. So what that means is that if you didn't bring in another dollar, we could make it about 7 months on what we have in fund balance right now. And that's certainly a good spot to be in, considering you all are a June 30 year end. We're about 6 months, 5 to 6 months away from collecting our major revenue source in property taxes, in November and December. So 7 months is right about where you would want to be, in my mind, as far as your general fund balance is concerned. So certainly a good thing there. And we always like pictures better than numbers and words on the screen. So this is just taking a look at your general fund revenues, the blue column, your expenditures is the green column, your total fund balance is gray, and then your unassigned fund balance, so it's not restricted in any way or committed or assigned, is the orange. And that's a good trend to see. Everything's pretty much increasing. Our expenditures are increasing ratably with our revenues. Fund balance is increasing ratably with those revenues as well. So nothing there that gives me any kind of pause, and again, certainly good trends to see. Your large enterprise fund or your solid waste fund, Again, nothing here to give me any pause, but it's neater to me to look at it more in a graphical sense. If the blue line's, or the blue column's bigger than the green column, that means we have an operating income. So we've pretty much had operating income for every year the last 5 years except for this year. But as you can see, that deficit is slowly decreasing as well, and that's what we want to see. We eventually want to see that gray line above the zero, not below the zero, so we're certainly moving in the right direction there. This kind of starts the section where governmental auditing standards require me to communicate certain things to you all. I just want to make sure you're aware that those financial statements, those disclosures in the financial statements, any of your accounting policies, any of your accounting estimates, those are all the responsibility of management. We had no difficulties in performing our audit, no disagreements with management in the performance of our procedures. We had no uncorrected misstatements. We did have some auditor-proposed adjustments, but those all have been posted to the accounting records, no issues there. And just want to make sure you all are aware that we are independent of the county in accordance with all of the applicable standards of our profession. And here's the findings that I mentioned, the significant deficiency in a couple of those compliance issues. County of your size, you're going to see a segregation of duties, significant deficiency just about anywhere you go, just because it's not economically feasible to hire enough people to properly segregate duties. So you're going to see that just about everywhere you go at a county of Liberty County size. So again, this is something I think we've reported to you all for several years. And just wanted to make sure we brought it up again, I guess, this year. And then 2 compliance issues. Again, these are the same as they were last year. Anytime you expend more than you had your approved budget, and this was only in 2 areas this year, which is certainly an improvement over the prior year, we have to report that as a compliance type issue. And then if we don't adopt a budget for certain special revenue funds, we have to report that as a compliance issue as well. So again, these are the exact same findings we had last year. We didn't have any more than we had last year, so I think that's certainly a good thing as well. And then finally, one management comment related to succession planning. I think we're seeing this a lot across all of our governments. Folks in key positions are getting older. They're getting to that point where it might be time to retire or to move on. And just want to make sure that that's kind of on the forefront of our minds, is making sure that we've got folks that are being trained, or we've got an idea of when we need to start planning for those folks in those key positions with all that institutional knowledge leaving us in the near future. So just again, wanted to bring that to your attention as well. And then finally, just some new GASB standards. We did implement a few this year. We've got a couple coming next year. Nothing that's going to, I just heard Kim sigh over there. Nothing that should be that big of an issue for us. We're going to work with the finance department on the implementation of those. Shouldn't be a big deal. I know she keeps sighing on me over there, but we're certainly going to be there with her every step of the way. So shouldn't be that big of an issue. And then down there at the very bottom, just want to make sure y'all are aware that we provide free continuing education only to our clients, newsletters, and those kinds of things. I know Kim and others have taken part in that value-added service, and we're happy that they have. And that pretty much concludes what I wanted to report to you all this evening. Again, it's certainly been a pleasure to serve the county and look forward to serving you in the future. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those at this time.
Just one, Mr. Chairman, and I've probably been told this before, but I just wanted to be reminded. GASB stands for, what's the acronym?
The Governmental Accounting Standards Board. Yeah, I meant to say that. Usually I try to hit on those. You know, we're just like teachers in some cases. We have thousands of acronyms, so.
Government
Accounting Standards Board. Yeah, they're the
Standards Board.
standard-setting body for governmental accounting.
Okay. I promise I won't ask it when you come back.
That's okay.
Expenditures in excess of approved budgets. You said reoccurring as in same departments, or?
No. I think no. It ends up being, I think, different departments each year, or different functions, yeah, but it's, anytime we go over, yeah, it's, the state requires us to report it, so.
Okay. So on our side, how do we handle that inside the county's 4 walls? Is that something that Kim would do in service?
Yeah, I mean, it's just more so amending your budget. If we see we're going to have an overrun at some point, you can always amend your budget, and that can even be done after, even after the fiscal year is over.
Yeah.
Just identifying those and, yeah, just running through an amendment to the budget.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned counties outside, so would counties outside also have that same
As in
dictation
any
here?
other county?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, sir, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Not that we can't be better than the other counties.
Some of those actually come after audit adjustments are made. At the end of the year, books have been closed for the fiscal year
Okay.
already.
Okay.
And they're not actually picked up until the audit. So there's no way really to go in and amend it before those adjustments are done.
That's a very fair statement.
And when I was looking over that, when I got the findings and I saw it and I read through it, and I was like, oh, wow. You went over, a particular elected official went over by $79.
Oh,
Wow. You know, collectively,
Yeah,
it is
okay.
so immaterial, but
But
even a
it's
dollar
still-
is a dollar.
Okay.
I did want to point out two things, because I don't want this board to be misled in any kind of way. Your report, because you look at a high level and you reserve things that are required by law in the general fund. So your report shows that at the end of June, we had 7 months' worth of undesignated, unreserved fund balance. Internally, your reports, we actually reserve more than just what's required by law. So I wanted to point that out, that we actually reserve for some of the pension fall that would not be required here, shortfall. We reserve for the solid waste deficit that isn't required. So that's why when I come before you in June and I tell you we're at about 2 months or 2.5 or 3 months of fund balance, that's why it differs from his 7, because he's doing it just what's required by law. We are a little bit more conservative so that we make sure that we're doing even more than what's required by law. The other thing I wanted to point out, which is, I love this picture because it really shows that we were on top of things.
Yeah.
Solid waste. This is the year you reset our solid waste assessments. So when the bills went out this year for 2022, we have new solid waste assessments. So this won't happen again. Because we knew it was time to reset, and that's why we engaged in that study. We went through it, we increased it, so that we'll be set again for like the next, hopefully, 5 years with those rates. Because you see, in the previous years, it worked. But we never adjusted them, and costs continued to increase. And so that's why I'm so happy that we've adjusted them in 2022, where we're at now. So that is one other thing I wanted to point out.
I just want to ask a question. When we reset it, so the little yellow block, the operating cash flow, what will that do to that?
Hopefully that'll go back up like it was.
That'll go up like in 2018?
Well, that also has to do with when we purchase our fixed assets. We have a 5-year fixed asset replacement plan. Sometimes we stay on schedule, and sometimes we push it out a little bit because we might not need to replace it that year. So that's probably why you saw this go up and then come down, and then come down, and then maybe go up. So cash flow also has to do with not just what we get in revenue, but how we spend it, specifically in solid waste, on those capital replacement pieces of equipment, because those are heavy hitters.
Well, overall, Kim, I think you and your department's done a great job.
Can I,
Tell you what, I don't know why you didn't bring all of them up here.
Should-
But we had to pay them a little bit over.
Yeah, they're already accumulating enough comp time, so slow that down.
I wanted to ask one question.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, and, of course, I know you go back to the landfill closures, and now we've been working on that for 23 years. And that 484,000 is every year?
It is I believe you have a booked amount we're trying to retire each year. Is that debt?
Actually, well,
It's saying engineering studies estimate post-closure
Oh.
of
No.
approximately 484.
and so there's a period of time that we actually amortize that cost, and we've been doing so for a while, but every year, we have to get an updated amortization schedule that takes into account any new expenses that the engineer believes that we're gonna need, inflation costs, for what they've projected to have to do.
That's the part that kind of, as an auditor, you would see numbers, and if you're out there on the ground, you're saying, why are we still getting charged for something that's been covered up for 23 years?
Oh, those methane wells.
I don't know what government agency is, I could call that milking it, or, you know, doing whatever you want to with it, but that's just unreasonable. Now, I could understand if it was 10,000 acres, but our landfills are not like that. Joey, that's on page.
Well, I was actually looking,
52.
yeah,
He's seen all
I was actually looking for, it. So DNR requires y'all to do that every year, requires the reports to be submitted and everything. And if you remember, it's actually been about 4 years ago, we engaged actually, environmental engineer out of Savannah under contract that follows up on those reports and/or produces the estimated costs going forward, Larry Miles, as a matter of fact. And you had to institute some methane wells down there, replace some methane wells along with testing of that. So it's a DNR requirement.
Well,
Yeah.
But that's not, that's a liability.
Yes.
That's not a one-year expense. That is your total liability. So that's not an expense for the year.
For them to come, for the engineers and for.
What was the
the
expense for the
environmental
year?
crews to come, Joey, do you know, for somebody to look at?
Yeah,
what I'm
she'll look
saying.
at, yeah, for what's required.
About $38,000 is what we paid this past year.
Yeah.
No, that's what we paid this year.
Yeah.
It can change and fluctuate. Sometimes it's 50, sometimes it's 30. But the total liability that we are continuing to chip away at and have to do things for is the $400,000 amount that you saw on the balance sheet. But the expense that we incurred this year for that was about $38,000.
Well, so the 400 is a leftover residual of where the general fund was having to support the solid waste fund years ago. And so it's the solid waste fund paying money back to the general fund, basically, for that. And then the actual expenses incurred is for those engineers that do come out, that 38.
I just, you know, if I had a car that was 23 years old and I was having to spend much more than, I mean, I understand the maintenance part of it, but it just appears to be, and it's just, me, I'm just saying, wait a minute now, you know, you could look at something 15 or 20 years, but it's going on year 23?
Yeah, you know, normally there was a period of, I forgot the term they used, but basically oversight by DNR for a closed landfill was estimated to be about 15 years. And like I said, it's gone on, and it will go on until every bit of that methane is gone and they certify that it's a clean site.
As long as there's methane coming out of those wells, we will continue to have it. And that is a piece that is programmed into your solid waste fee. It is one of those cost components
So
that's taken
the
in.
only one we've got that you're really concerned with?
That's the only landfill that has to be monitored.
I'm just saying, if it were to go up, we're looking at expense somewhere down the line, and I don't know what else we could do with it. And we've talked several times about using it for some facility that you didn't have to dig in the ground. I thought there was one at JV Road landfill.
No, sir. It was a dry trash. It doesn't require the monitoring.
It was all dry back then.
All dry back there.
All right, thank you.
Kim.
Thank you, sir. Good report. Kim, take our congratulations back to your department, please.
Check since you've been in there.
That's a good way to look at it. All right. Coastal Work Sources here. Sharon Morgan, who's the interim director for several years now. She's going to update us a little bit on what's going on with the.
Sure thing.
Good to have you.
Same here. Thank you for the invite. Well, not quite evening, but I'll go ahead and say good evening and
it's almost.
thank you for the invite. I think we're in a good place in the agenda. When I looked at it, I was like, wow, they got a packed agenda. But I'm coming right behind the audit. And one thing I did realize that he did point out was the succession plan. So I think we are coming right behind a good spot where I can pick up and talk about what it is that we do in Liberty County and pretty much for the region. Okay. Thank you. As I looked back in our archives of PowerPoints. We have been here before, but what I did recognize is that we did have a couple, or maybe one or two new county commissioners. So I wanted to kind of give a brief history of the funding so that everyone would understand exactly what I was speaking of, because I would hate to be before you and you're like, what is she talking about? So I don't know if you all remember hearing about the JTPA program back in the 80s, and then CETA program. I'm sorry, CETA was in the 70s, and JTPA was the 80s, and then we moved to WIA, which was the Workforce Investment Act, and now we're in what we call the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which was put into place in 2014. So our funding comes from the U.S. Department of Labor, and it is then given to all of the states. This program you can find throughout the nation. Our administrator is the Technical College System of Georgia. They receive the funds from USDOL, and they allocate those funds to 19 different areas of Georgia. Then the funds are then given to our fiscal agent. Our fiscal agent is the city of Savannah. Basically, they are responsible for writing the checks for the different workforce development services that we provide throughout the 10 counties. That is done through our office, the administrative office. We're known as the compliance office. There we do put out RFPs for the particular services that we need in these 10 county areas. We also report back to the state, who reports back to the feds how these funds are being spent. The funds that are received for workforce development in our 10 county region, what I realized in my time at Coastal, I'm not that old, but I've been there since 2006. And many of the counties, with transitioning from one commissioner to the next, or one chairman to the next, sometimes one mayor to the next, they're not completely sure as to what the funds are. Some felt that they were supposed to receive a check for these funds. However, the funds is formula money. We don't have to write a grant for these funds. These funds come to our region automatically every program year. And those program funds begin July 1 of every year. And we have 2 years to spend these funds. And we'll talk about that. I'll explain more of that later in the presentation. But the 10 counties that make up the coastal region is Bryan, Bullock, Camden, Chatham, Effingham, Glenn, Liberty, Long, and McIntosh and Striven County. So these workforce investment funds are used to get our Americans into jobs that they probably couldn't get into on their own. And with that being said, we make sure that they have the proper training to move into these jobs. And again, as we spoke about, Trey spoke about the audit. We have to get individuals trained up so they can move into these jobs that individuals are retiring from. I have spoken to different employees at different businesses who are really afraid to retire because they feel like, who's going to come in and run this machine? I've been doing this for the last 35 years, and they want to walk away, but some of them are really committed to their jobs, and they're concerned about who's going to come behind me. So this is something that we are tasked to do with these funds, and in each county, our marching orders that comes from our chairmen may be a little different depending on what the needs are for those counties. Some counties experience plant closures, major layoffs, so we will have to go into that county and see what we can do to help those individuals get back to work. And in some situations, in a neighboring county, we had a situation where there was a large plant that laid off, but someone came in and bought that plant. They hired probably about 95% of the employees. So we went in to make sure that it was a smooth transition for those individuals who were bothered by the fact that the plant was going to be sold. But it turned out to be a good situation in the end, and I'll explain how we did that in a few slides. The funding that we receive 3 different funding streams, 3 different pots of money to assist our adults, which are 18 years old or older, our dislocated workers who have been laid off from a job due to no fault of their own. Some may qualify for funding even if they were terminated, but it all depends on the situation. So in that case, we're looking at those individuals on a case-by-case basis. They can also be in a situation where they're unlikely to return to the same type of job or industry. That is some of the case for some of our veterans that are transitioning out of the military. And we'll speak about that in a few moments as well. Dislocated workers are also those that we receive a warrant notice for. That is the notice that an agency or organization is preparing to lay off their workers. So those individuals that are separated from their job due to no fault of their own automatically qualify for our services. So one example of that would be someone who has been working on a job for 20, 25 years doing the same job, but they feel like they want to do something different, but they don't have the certification for it. That person will automatically qualify, and we will be able to assist them with whatever that training is, and that they have the aptitude and interest to be successful in that training. And as for our youth funding, those are individuals ages 16 to 24 who are basic skills deficient, either in reading or math. Below an 8th grade level, we can assist those individuals. In the past, 75% of our funds was regulated to be spent on out-of-school youth. Those are youth that have graduated from high school and still are basic skills deficient. Some of them are just not strong readers or just not strong in math, or they have dropped out of school. Recently, in program year 20, we were able to receive a waiver from USDOL stating that we could spend 50% of our funds on out-of-school youth and then 50% on in-school youth. So what that means for out-of-school youth, they may need assistance with achieving their GED or just being introduced to work, period. Again, they would enter into one of our job centers. In this case, they would enter into the Liberty County Job Center. They will receive an assessment to see what their aptitude and interests are, and we will move them forward with achieving their GED or introducing them to the workforce if they have little to no work experience. So I spoke about some of the ways that we spend our funds on workforce development, but there are other ways that we do spend money in Liberty County, and I just want to point that out. Again, in our office, we're responsible for compliance and making sure that our contracts are procured properly in order to make sure these services are reaching all 10 counties. So Ross is our contractor for Liberty County. One thing that we encourage our contractors to do is to hire local residents when they come into the area. I know oftentimes when you have a company come in, they'll bring people with them from out of the state, but you know, we encourage them to hire locally, and they do. We did bring staff with us, but when we got here, we found out we can only bring 2 people in. So somehow you'll meet them at some other point, but we did bring them with us so that you can see them. We do coordinate the summer youth program here in Liberty County. Just recently, last summer, we did a fast-track manufacturing program with the Liberty County Career Academy. We also assist with career fairs. Everyone is short-staffed and looking for employees, and they may not have the capacity to put on a job fair, but at the same time, they need to recruit for workers. That is something we can come in and staff can assist with. As long as we have what you're looking for, we can also screen resumes that you already have. If you don't have time to do that, we have business service reps that could go through those resumes and applications and possibly put a list of people together that you may want to interview. We can also assist with training for public responders. We're also a member of the Liberty County Chamber here. We assist the ex-offenders program, the SOAR program, with funding for offenders who may want to enter into training once they are returning back to Liberty County. We're partners with the Youth Challenge Program, assisting those individuals who are there working on their GED. Some of them may need additional tutorial services. So we have a partnership with them. We also have a military services coordinator, Mrs. Shawanda Perry, who is here, who is also a veteran, a retired vet herself. Her job is to work with the transitioning soldiers from Fort Stewart, Hunter Army Airfield, as well as the naval base down in Camden, but making sure that their resumes are civilianized. So when they're looking for work, the employer actually know exactly what they did while they were in the military. She also connects them with jobs. And you also have a business service representative that is assigned to Liberty County, who's responsible for working with small businesses, medium, large businesses, with what we call our OJT program and IWT, which I will explain. And we also do these special programs with local government as well. Something Mr. Mosley and I will be working on. Business service representatives, we have a total of 3. One is acting. Ms. Perry is covering the lower end of the region, McIntosh County, Glenn County, and Camden. Our central region is covered by Danielle Riley, who could not be here tonight. She covers Bryan, Chatham, Liberty, and Long. And our northernmost of the region is covered by Janet Jones. Our OJT program that they market throughout the region, again, this program is geared for unemployed and underemployed dislocated workers. So what this means is we are asking businesses to hire individuals that are either unemployed or underemployed. There is a benefit to the business, whether it's small, medium, or large. They can receive up to 50% of the training wages for a new hire. So a quick example of that will be someone who needs an employee and the salary for that employee is $40,000 a year. They could receive up to 50% of their training wages for 6 months for a result of $20,000. So those are the type of things that we offer to the business. It must be vacant positions in which they require a unique skill set and not necessarily having to go through training or technical college or needing a 4-year degree. It may be that they just want to train them on the job. So they can come in, hire that individual. Again, the living wage for Liberty County from the workforce development software that we have is $14.65. So someone that is making less than that and is not unemployed, but they are underemployed, they can still participate in this OJT program. And we also have an incumbent worker training program. This is for individuals that are already on the job, but they need to skill up. So a prime example would be a company that has a new machine. And everyone has to learn how to operate this new machine. in order to maintain productivity as well as their job. So this is usually something that we offer to, again, businesses, local government, to assist with skilling up individuals in their program, in their agency. And again, you all can receive up to 90% of the training wages based on the size of the organization. Here are some of the community partners we have worked with, and we are steadily growing. Like Chairman Lovett said, there are things going on in Liberty County. That's why we try to stay connected to the Chamber, the Developmental Authority, Savannah Technical College. I've met Mr. Mosley when I came to sit with Mr. Chairman Lovett. And again, we'll be working on some projects together, trying to spend some more of these funds here in Liberty County. So again, how do you access these services? You access these services by walking into one of our job centers. Our job center is located here on ML King, and I will update you on that story in a few moments. But our responsibility at the admin office is to make sure that these services are able to be accessed in these 10 counties. We are also responsible to make sure these services are offered in all of our job centers with great customer service. One thing we want the public to know, inside our job centers, you have internet and faxing access. We provide workforce development workshops. We have a public notary. We can also assist with resume development or revising your resume if you have one. Assist with interview skills, job searching, training opportunities, and of course, work-based learning. And our training opportunities and work-based learning, of course, you have to be eligible for the program, but again, you can access those services by talking to one of our opportunity coaches. Financial update. So what I want to point out here is, while we are struggling to get individuals to get back to work, we're also having, I wouldn't say difficulty, but our numbers are less than in the past. And of course, it's being affected by the pandemic, but at the same time, we are charged to make sure that these services are accessible in our 10 counties. So this is where you all come in, helping us market the program as well as we, on the other side, developing the program. So right now, we are in what we call program year 21. We received our allocations for all 3 of the funding streams. They were reduced in PY 2021. There is a formula that is used by the federal government as to how much they will give to each state. The state also has their formula to determine how much will be given to the 19 areas. So we did receive a slight cut for PY 21. We did receive additional funding for individuals that were laid off due to COVID. We are spending those funds, but we do have the ability to allocate more funds to training from funding we had left over from PY 2020. So PY 21, our formula grant allocation was reduced by 7%. We rolled over an estimated $3 million from PY 20. We were in the middle of the pandemic at that time, and not very many people were going into training from PY 20. So we were able to roll the second year funds over into PY 21. So we were able to increase our expenditures. We have more money for training, and we also have more money for business services, such as those programs I just spoke about, which is the OJT and the IWT program. So our formula funds from PY 20, this is where we are with spending. Our finance administrator. She just closed out December, so we may be a little higher, but I wanted to present exactly what has been presented to our board without showing you the actual numbers before it's been presented to them. So these were the last numbers reported to our board, and this is where we are. And this is from PY20. So this is why we were able to roll over those funds, because we did not expend all of them, but we're on track to expend them by June 30th, 2022. And here is where we are right now with program year 21. We have not expended any of our adult funds or the dislocated worker funds, because we still have a pot of money over here. So we are charged to spend the first funds in, and those are the funds that go out. So once we complete the expenditures from PY20, we will then move into PY21 and begin spending those funds. And the reason why we're at 63% on our youth funds is because that contract has already been awarded. So here's an update on our job center. On April 13th, we experienced a fire at our WorkSource Coastal Job Center located on Martin Luther King Drive, right across from the police department. I don't know if you all had an opportunity to go over there right after it happened, but I just thought I'd share some pictures with you as to what it looked like that night. And here's where we are as it stands, January. The landlord is moving forward with rehabbing the center. We have placed an order for furniture. Thanks to this board, we were able to share space with the SOAR reentry program right behind this building. So that's where staff is meeting with citizens and customers of the program, participants of the program. So again, I would like to publicly thank you for that. Right now, that's where we are located until this building is complete. We have a deadline provided to us of completion by the landlord of late February. So I have a list here of staff members. Again, they were invited. Some were able to make it. The ones that were here, of course, we'll have to bring them back at another time. But I do have Mr. Brad Speck here, who is the Director of Operations. Brad is responsible for making sure these services run smoothly on a day-to-day basis. His team consists of a lead opportunity coach who makes sure that these individuals are eligible for the program. And our opportunity coaches are just that. They speak with the potential participants to find out what their interests are and just show them how to get there. Again, a lot of our youth, we would say, well, you know, they don't know what they want to do, but that's their job, to help them figure out what they want to do. And once they figure out what it is that they want to do or think they want to do, their job is to show them how to get there. Again, we have a receptionist, a resource room specialist who can assist with resumes, also notary services, fax, copy, anything. Those things are free to the public. You don't have to be a part of the program. You could just be, I don't know, at the school, and they say, well, ma'am, you need to get this form notarized. And of course, people are like, well, you know, where am I going to find a notary? Here at the center. So that service is provided. Then we have Mrs. Perry, who's here, who works with the military vets who are transitioning out. And then we have Danielle Riley, who is your business service representative. So, any questions?
Tell me what's in queue for you and Mr. Mosley.
Now you're gonna hold me. Hold my feet to the fire. But my wheels was turning as I was sitting there. I'm going back to succession again. We simply have to come up with some type of programming so that we have these individuals in the pipeline. Again, I was started with Coastal in 2006, and I remember a time where we weren't working with the school system directly at all. And that's where it starts. And that's why I'm glad we do have a partnership with Liberty County High School, with Bradwell, Youth Challenge, most recently the Liberty County Career Academy, because again, they need to know how to get there. And that's where we come in. You have different departments where, let's face it, all of our kids, all of our youth are not going to go to college. They may just want to go to work because they grew up and that's all they've seen. No one in their household may have gone to college, so they want to work. So again, we have to expose that to them. I think that's the experience that we all have had, and we ended up here because somebody exposed us to it. So that is my goal for Liberty County. To make sure that there is exposure to these different types of training through partnerships, whether it's directly or indirectly. We have to get them exposed to these different types of jobs if we want to retire.
The summer, you had the summer youth program there. Of course, we have our program. We talked about that.
Correct.
But I know you have certain criteria. That's to me, that's the, how do you say it? The complication, the complexity of the program.
Mm-hmm.
You said reading on what, 8th grade level?
Mm-hmm.
And
that's just one of them. There are other mechanisms in place.
Okay. Okay.
I don't want to get into that because this thing is huge.
Well, just,
the act itself is over 1,500 pages. So, I mean, we could be here all night, but I heard somebody say, come on, let's get this thing over with before we got started. So, just know that there are some mechanisms in place to make this.
That's what we need to know
happen.
then. Y'all work it.
Yep.
Okay.
Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Just one question. Guess I'm on acronyms. One of your slides said the WARN Act. What does WARN stand for?
That is,
I got the GASB. That's the Georgia Accounting Safety Board. I got that. I'm gonna get a tattoo.
You're getting smart about a minute, though.
But the WARN, I didn't know what that was. But
that's the layoff notice.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Miss Morgan.
Yes.
I'm the public works director on my day job.
On your day job.
And I would like to give you my card,
Okay.
and maybe if you got one, but I need to get in contact with somebody. We got a lot of openings, or we gonna have a lot of openings this within the next couple of months out at Public Works. We have a contract to cut grass on Fort Stewart and Hunter Armour Airfield, and all the grass that you see in Hinesville, Georgia. We have to cut that for the most part.
Okay.
So we're going to be hiring. Now, I know people come in and in your program, they get training and all kind of stuff like that. But, we're going to have vacancies galore.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to come down and either you or someone that can call me at that number and we set up a meeting. I would really like to come and see if we can, through your program, get some people that want to work like by 6:30. I mean, that's how bad we need them.
I understand.
Okay, so just give me a call. I know I got to go to Douglas on Wednesday, but I'll be in Hinesville, and call me even if I'm in Douglas. We could set up a meeting, and I know where your office is, the new office and the one that was destroyed by fire. So, if someone can give me a call, I'd be glad to come in and sit down and talk with them. If y'all got some people that's coming through there for whatever reason and they're looking for work, we could put them to work.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay?
Thank you.
She's
Any other questions?
She's asking us to also help them to get the word out about the services they provide. They have all these buckets of money
Yes.
that they need to spend.
Yep.
So we got to get folk in there to Get them qualified
will.
so they can take advantage of the program.
And we will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you all want to say something? Ms. Perry?
Good evening. Good to have y'all.
Thank y'all for the
All right.
coffee cup.
In the cup she gave out, both her business card and my business card is in each of the
It's in there, okay.
Okay.
Oh, it's in
He's
here?
already got a job.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, okay.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
I'm calling and set up an appointment, and I'll be there.
Look forward to what you and Mr. Moses are going to work out. Yeah, okay. All right, we'll have some of you the program.
Get him before they get Joe
All right.
Yeah.
Joe hire.
All right, ARPA, SBA Assistance Overview. Who's presenting?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, if we could hit the ADP.
I missed one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I did, didn't I?
If
Excuse
it's
me.
okay.
It sure is. ADP.
While Kim's coming, this is a program, as they'll get in, she and Laura will describe, on the electronic payroll process that will help with efficiencies. Money for the program is budgeted in your approved ARPA budget for 5 years going forward, starting in FY '22.
Okay, I laid on front of you some talking points that we just want to kind of highlight for you, and I just want to let you know that probably over the last 6 months, we have been researching and trying to identify ways to help finance and human resource and our workforce come into this new technology world and to eliminate a lot of manual processes. So in doing that, early on in 2021, I actually worked with the Sheriff's Department as they searched out for a timekeeping system. And I worked with them very closely in that, selecting that, and they've implemented that. It's worked well. It's worked very well for them, so they're not on the manual timesheets. However, that timekeeping system does not do payroll processing or any type of benefits administration. It's strictly timekeeping, and it's more geared for timekeeping in the law enforcement public safety sector. So when we were looking at different companies and options, we looked at ADP. ADP was the best one that we looked at and researched and interviewed. And we also found out that Novatime can feed directly into ADP, that they've already worked with Novatime. So that's a seamless match right there. But I do want to go over some high points of kind of where we've gotten to this point.
For the most part, we're manual.
Oh, we're very,
Wow.
we're very.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is not good news.
It is not good news, and it's really been taxing on our employees.
Oh, that is not good news.
Especially in the last
Yeah.
few years.
Yeah.
And so I'll just start off with the first one, the biggest bullet point in my mind. Our workforce has doubled in 15 years. Doubled. Now, mind you, my staff hasn't. Although we have shifted in finance over the last, I'm going to say 10 years, 5 to 10 years, we've shifted a lot of the HR stuff that we used to do a poor job at over to Laura, and now Laura and her full-time assistant, who are able to actually make that initial contact with that person and the benefits administration a much more, when they come in to process and when they go out to process, and any type of interaction has been so much more than we ever did. One of the big things that Mr. Brown just said is we have the money in our ARPA fund to do this. So this won't impact the general fund at all. And it is ARPA qualified because it does eliminate that contact, that one-on-one contact that we currently have to have for turning in those manual timesheets and for keying that stuff and assigning them and everything. Our current payroll system right now does not produce the type of reports that we have to provide for both CARES and ARPA So any reports that we have been submitting, I've been creating. So what I have to do is I have to run several different reports out of a system and then create our own spreadsheets and our own reports that I then upload to the state and to the federal agencies for our grant reporting. Very time consuming. A comprehensive automated system will integrate that timekeeping process, payroll processing, and benefits administration. It will help reduce errors. It eliminates all that time-consuming stuff that goes on right now just to process payroll. If you'll remember, a couple years ago, we actually had to shift our payroll weeks because we couldn't get it done. I mean, it was just physically, we did not have the time to do it. So we actually had to change our pay weeks so that we had enough time to get that information into the system and then transmit that information to the bank. Creates a lot of errors, a lot of review. I have 2 people right now in my department who so far this year have used over 100 hours of comp time and still have 80 hours of comp time on the books to use, which means they're not using their annual leave. So that's
Building up.
and so when they use their comp time, really all that does is make more work for them when they come back. So we've been feeling the weight, and like I said, most specifically in the last 2 years, because we have brought on, oh gosh, I want to say 50, 60, maybe 70, 80 people just in the last 2 years, and that's a lot for a little department. And what used to take one person 2 days now takes 2 people 3 days, and it's very manual.
And the stack of timesheets, probably 2.5 to 3 inches thick.
Yeah.
Just every department and office is sending in a spreadsheet.
And it's very tedious, and no matter how often I fix the formulas on there, somebody inevitably, somewhere out there, who doesn't understand that timesheet, messes up that formula.
something
Then when it
different.
gets to us and we're looking at it, we're
Got
like,
it.
that's not calculating right. Something's happening. So somebody's paid wrong. And you have
Yeah, the
corrections
correction.
and retro pay and that sort of stuff. And it turns out to be that somebody just messed up a formula. In going to this, it'll be an automated system that simplifies not only the timekeeping, the payroll processing, but it'll help simplify the 941 tax filings, the quarterly tax filings, the year-end tax filing and reportings, such as the W-2s and the 1095Cs, which Laura is significantly involved with right now. Very manual process for her as well. I didn't even go back and look at her comp time, which I'm sure she's taken plenty. It also provides an automated deduction and garnishment payments, which right now we're having to do manually. Once we deduct it, then we have to voucher it, give it over to AP, they enter it, and they cut the check. This would all be integrated, done once, everything handled. It provides an accurate tracking of annual leave, sick leave, comp time, which is huge, overtime, and it provides real-time balances not only to the department heads, but to the employees. So, we talk about comp time. I wish I could get my hands around the way that some people are tracking comp time, because comp time, everybody tracks it differently, and we don't have a system right now that tracks it and how it should be tracked. But this would track not only vacation and sick leave, but comp time, overtime, and it would be readily available to the department heads and the employees on a real-time basis.
The other thing it would help track is when employees are out on family and medical leave or workers' compensation leave. Right now, we're taking a yellow highlighter and highlighting on the spreadsheet the days that we think are FMLA from the supervisor. And then I'm tracking that in another spreadsheet. When you have an automated system, you can code a time as it's entered by the user. And it would just be so much simpler for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we get through keying, and we take this big stack over to Laura and say, here you go, now you do what you need with it. she does what she does, and she brings it back to us, and then we file them. It's a lot. It also, a cloud-based system then keeps all the time and attendance records in one place, provides a reliable audit trail, and it minimizes the risk of data corruption as well. It also, this particular system, because this was very important to us, has several options of clocking in. So you can, depending on the type of work you do, you can either clock in on your phone, and you can make it such that that phone has to be in a certain radius, half mile, mile, of a particular location. Because sometimes certain crews don't go to a time clock. They go to the job site. They could get to the job site and clock in because they're within a certain radius of what we say they have to be. Or they can use a time clock, or they can use a biometric, or they can sign in a computer. I mean, there's vast variety of ways with their phone of clocking in and clocking out. It also eliminates, or deters very much, almost eliminates the whole buddy clocking system. So somebody can't clock in and out for me.
For you.
I have my own user ID unique to me, whether I, do a biometric, whether I use my phone, whether I go to a computer, whatever it is, it's going to be unique to me. And believe it or not, when you have a manual system where you just 8 hours, 40 hours a week, did that person really work 40 hours? Or did they get here 20 minutes late on this day and leave 10 minutes late or early on this day? So at the end of the week, do you have 30, 40 minutes for how many employees? It's not, I don't want to call it stealing time, but it's just, it happens. It happens in a manual process. Somebody will write down 8 hours. You're clocking in and clocking out. Whatever method we use, you're going to get paid for the hours that you worked. It also modernizes, streamlines operations, and it does provide employee satisfaction because of the interaction and the user experience. They can view their pay stubs on their phone, online. They can change their tax withholdings. They can update their mailing address, switch direct deposits, view their leave balances. There's so much that the employee can do without having to come up here and actually physically, sit in one of our offices and fill out a paper or send it to us. They can do it all on their own. It's completely interactive. We have talked to other users of ADP. I've had experience, although it's been years ago, with ADP. And we just feel it is the best company to go with. Now, it will not eliminate a job, but it certainly will prevent us from having to hire somebody else right now to help with that load, which has become increasingly a struggle. So what we're asking for really is permission from the board to go ahead and engage the process and ask for a contract from them so that we can have your blessing once you get the contract to review it, sign it, to move forward with this. As I mentioned, we did put it in your ARPA budget, so this won't be any cost to the general fund. I think it'll be a huge improvement. I think it'll put us in the modern age technology. It definitely will attract, some more tech-savvy users who will probably look at the way we do things right now and say, why are we doing this? This is the system we have.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. Kim, will this require, like other departments, to have a software package also, not just your office, for their employees?
They will come in, and every department will be attached to
your
that
main
one
server?
package.
Okay, all right. Okay, and it eliminate all this paper. That could save money also.
Right, you'd log into a website.
Uh-huh,
You have a dashboard, for
Right.
example, for the department head, for example. They
okay.
could see who's here, who's not here.
Who's clocked in, where they are, where they clocked in at, what time they clocked in, when they left.
Right.
and they can-
So you don't have any idea of the cost?
Yeah, we estimated, and we got it, an estimate from them, about $123,000 plus like a $10,000 setup fee. So it is within, now, I don't have the actual contract in front of me,
That's
but
fine.
our guess is it's going to come somewhere close to 133, 134,000 for the program and the implementation, that sort of thing.
Okay, sounds good.
We had it at,
Initial cost, and there's a recurring,
Yes,
just like
there
with
will be.
anything else, there's a software recurring cost.
Yeah,
Just like I
Any kind
have
of
a
program, yes.
software
Yeah.
recurring cost for ours,
okay.
everybody else's.
we had it at Liberty Regional.
Yeah.
We did have it at Liberty Regional,
And
that's
then,
right.
and then we decided to go with something that was supposedly better. It wasn't. We hurriedly found our way back to ADP.
They
Work-
they are a nationally recognized leading technology.
The
provider.
managers, we loved it. We
It-
loved it.
it's-
We loved
It
it.
is. I've worked with them before, like I said, it's been several years, and many, many years ago when, at a previous employer, but I thought they were the Cadillac of
Mm-hmm.
timekeeping, payroll processing, benefit administration, and
Yeah.
they've only gotten better.
Well, commissioners, I tell you, the day has come and gone with this manual process that these ladies are doing. I just can't imagine you doing all that paperwork. I remember that though, but that's been some years ago that we did that. And employee can't even track their balances without coming to you guys or calling. You know, no. There's a,
Mr. Chairman.
yes.
Yeah, Kim, this, and Laura, this is a great presentation. You had me sold when you said the workforce is double in 15 years. And I think you said a couple of times it's 2022. and that is the ARPA funds can be used.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
all these
it's
other
such a great
bullets that help justify that, but I was sold round 6:30.
I got you.
I was sold, but I do have one question. Now you did mention something about employees late for work. Where would they would clock in on their phone, or you have to be in close proximity?
It depends. It depends however you set it up. So if you wanted that person to be able to clock in, you know, at a certain location or within a mile of that location, because maybe their job site is not really at that shop, but they have to go over here, then they could go straight to their job site and clock in
Once
from
they get there.
And it wouldn't allow you to clock in if you were in Gum Branch,
Right.
but it'd allow you to clock in once you get within
that perimeter.
that perimeter.
Well,
You could either use your phone, or you could use a punch card, you could use biometrics, you could use a computer terminal. It's whatever best suits each department. So it doesn't have to be uniform. It could be specific to that department. So my people, I would assume, would clock in when they
The
get to
computer.
Well, I'll just let y'all know I'm a little finicky about being on time. I came here one morning, and I don't know what the work hours are, but I parked right there where I normally park, and there's quite a few in the parking lot at 8:10. Maybe that's his starting hours. There was a few came in at 8:20.
I can promise you.
Maybe that was his starting
I
hours.
can promise you there's probably 8 hours.
I was thinking it was 8 o'clock. But,
You're right.
But maybe it was on that particular day. 8:10 was the new starting date. But that's a whole nother story. And I know better than that. It's 8 o'clock or it's after 8 o'clock.
Right.
And you did say one concern that I have, and it is information technology, and everybody is not there. I know some of the guys that work. I know some of the workforce, and there still would be some. I got them out there with me out at Public Works that they don't do that. Now you got a lot of them. My 4-year-old grandson. Not son, good Lord. My 4-year-old grandson was ordering something on Amazon. Okay, for Amazon pickup. Now he doesn't have a credit card, but he said that he was gonna put it on mine if I give him the number. So he has the computer.
tech savvy
He's
at
got it.
core.
But we got some guys that's 35 and 40 that can't. So they're gonna still need
Right.
a little something,
So-
and I'm quite sure the supervisor, maybe the
Exactly.
coworker, somebody will help them, but it ain't gonna be a one-size-fit-all.
No, it's
But it would help, a lot of this stuff, and,
It would.
and I'm for it.
I think it would really be eye-opening too, the first time somebody,
It's-
"Man, I didn't get 40 hours, I got 38 point what?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, in a span of 2 weeks. But yes, there would be a variety of things, to the point where it could even be a supervisor of that crew.
Right.
Would then, sign everybody in. It could be however we want it set up to suit that particular department. So yes, I agree with you.
Okay.
And I go to my grandchildren all the time to help with my phone.
Right.
I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
And human resources, we're always there. We would be there to help any employee that still needed assistance.
Right, yeah, okay.
At Liberty, they use biometrics, they use a computer, phone, or we could swipe.
Yeah, or you can swipe, or you can have a badge and swipe. There's a multitude of options.
Well, for the self-service things too,
Yeah.
if they needed to come in
Mm-hmm.
and something.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's always going to be
Yeah,
something.
there's
He's
always going to be
right.
some of those
He's right. There's
people
always going to be
who
something.
want a
Yeah.
face to
You
talk.
never replace the humans.
No.
But it far outweighs that.
Far
We
outweighs.
could handle that. I mean,
That's
you know,
correct. Like I said, it's such an opportunity to be given the funds that will support
Yeah.
this change,
Yeah.
which is huge. So I just think it's the time, it's the right time, it's the time to move on it, have the funding that doesn't impact our general fund. You're right, I could have stopped right there.
But, I mean, the way I look at it, if he can operate that motor grader, the least we can do is help him with his timesheet.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Okay.
And we will, we'll
Yeah.
make sure it's not a burden.
Okay.
Kim, this is one question. You talked about the other departments. Of course, each department will have this downloaded.
A training
on their
session.
computer. And whether it's the clerk's office or anybody, and of course, their supervisor will have to approve it before it comes to you.
Right,
Because if it comes to you and it's not approved
no,
by the supervisor, then it's kicked out.
no, it has to go
That's
through
why
that
you
review.
It kind of threw
Has
me
to.
there for a loop where a fellow here on Friday at 3 o'clock says, "Oh, I gotta get time in today because," and he says, "Oh, the time went in, I'm good. I'm gonna crank my truck up and go to the house." I don't get, but I just wanna make sure because, we had the same thing that, basically, the employees would turn their time in, it would come to me, I'd approve it, and then it,
Right.
you wanna look and make sure if it's FMLA, if it's sick leave, if it's.
Any flags?
Anything that's out there,
Yep.
and I guess we've already, or you have, if, that'll be your next move is to communicate with constitutional officers saying, hey, this is what we're gonna be looking at, and, you're gonna be the one getting the grumbling, we're not.
Right, yes, and I agree. I mean, any change, any conversion, any change is uncomfortable. But I really believe that once employees
See the-
and
See the
supervisors,
benefit. Yeah.
get used to it and are trained on it, I think they will
Tell you
also.
what, we came back to it.
Like I said, any change
Yeah.
is uncomfortable. Any conversion is
Just an
uncomfortable.
action item.
And even talking to them, this is going to be probably a 6-month task because they've got to incorporate all of our rules, all of our shifts, whether it's EMS, whether it's fire, 24-hour shift, 12-hour shift, 10-hour shift. There's a lot to do, so it's not something that's going to happen in a month. This is going to be a conversion process, and they will go through each department and identify their needs, identify their work process, their workflows, and see what fits best. But yes, you're right, I will be the one going to.
Commissioner Gate.
And that if it's your idea, it don't make any difference who they are, if it's the greatest thing in the world, or somebody going,
Yeah,
I mean, I understand the timekeeping, and I didn't have the 16 folks, so it was hard enough for me to get it in on time, but, I'm in favor of whatever's going to, help you get this problem solved.
They were good for customer service too, I remember that.
oh, they are I call them the Chick-fil-A
Yeah.
of the payroll processing, because they are number one in customer
They were
service.
good for that. What do you need from
If we
us?
could get a motion and a second to engage a contract.
All right, Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we proceed with the automated data processing that Kim presented.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Opposed?
We will bring the contract back for your approval in February.
Yeah, Kim, just a word of advice. I don't know if y'all remember the O.J. Simpson's trial, but when they laid all that information, Johnny Cochran won the case when he said
If the
that there's such thing as too much information. I mean, so you had me at the third bullet.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. ARPA now?
Mr. Chairman, just as a lead-in, and Mr. Mosley's kind of going to run with this. We've got a draft of some recommendations that we told you to bring to you regarding the process involved with award of funds to small business, nonprofit small business associations out of the ARPA fund. As you recall, we gave a brief overview on this with a partnership with United Way, which is also budgeted in the ARPA fund for dissemination of these funds. So Ms. Christine Hopkins Graham from United Way is also here that can answer questions on that process. It's a process they've been implementing and using for a couple of years now for City of Savannah and Chatham County to help give their funds out. So I'll let Mr. Mosley run with it as far as the overview of the proposed program.
All right.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, I'm going to ask Ms. Graham to come forward. I'm going to do one sheet, and she's going to do the second sheet, and then Ms. Brown and I will conclude with the third sheet that you have before you.
Got that many sheets?
You'll notice the sheets. The first sheet will be the sheet that has red highlighting, and
got
the
it.
second sheet will be the application, and the third sheet will be the actual contract with the United Way
Okay.
Coast Empire.
All right. Ready?
Good evening, how are you?
Hello.
So, as Mr. Brown stated, we have been working with Chatham, Savannah, since the pandemic started to help get those funds out to the citizens with rental assistance, utility assistance, mortgage assistance, and things like that. We have also given out small grants, helped them with assisting the nonprofits in their community with giving small grants to be able to continue with their work within the community. So we have a process set up that has worked pretty well for us with the reporting and everything. So we're going to, our suggestion is to mimic that process that we used when we did those funds with the Savannah Chatham County. So what we propose is that we're going to designate one of our 211 representatives to specifically handle the calls for the Liberty County ARPA applications. So what that means is that we'll not dial directly into 211 by dialing 211, but we'll have an actual number with one contact person that will be responsible for taking all those applications, answering questions, and what have you, and also the submission of those documents. So they'll have that email address, and it'll all be that one person to cut down any type of confusion, and also be able to keep up with, the timestamp and submission date. Once those applications are submitted to that representative in 211, she will forward those applications, the completed applications, to our office, where I will review them for completion and eligibility, making sure they're viable businesses, verifying the loss and the documents, the business license is good, and they're good standing within our county. So we propose that this will be a 45-day application period. So we'll just continue that process for all 45 days. And as I get those completed applications, I'll set them to the side. And once that 45 days is over, I'll present those to Mr. Brown or Mr. Mosley. Okay. So at that time, the decision will be made for what the grant awards will be to each individual to make sure that you guys have the final approval for that. After that such time, we will collect documentation for data to make sure that, to document what the funds were utilized for so we can track that. And we will be keepers of that documentation and keepers of that data, and I can do any type of presentation you need as requested to give you that information. Okay. So we would like for all the applications to be submitted online. That's just a better way for time stamping, but we understand that not everyone has that capability. So we will accept applications within our office. When they come into the office, I will timestamp them and have that business owner to initial the timestamp so that we know that's the date and time, and they're agreeing to that as well. Also to cut down any type of confusion with that.
Hey, I have one question. I'm a little baffled here. I'm the
Okay.
public works director doing that day job, but where's Olive Street in Hinesville?
It's Olive, the
Olive.
Olive Street right across from.
Typo.
Oh, yeah, I live on Olive, okay.
Yes, sir.
Typo.
Oh, typo, okay.
Yes,
'Cause I said, man, I'm slipping there for a new street in on. You got to pick up trash over there. That's right across from Bradwell, Olive.
Yes, sir.
Olive Street.
Olive Street.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we got that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I had a question. Will these funds, are they only available to unincorporated businesses or countywide?
So we're going to kind of expand, based on what the commission had, or at least we thought we understood from the commission, recommendation is they would be countywide. I think there was some expression of that in an earlier meeting. That's certainly up to the board to decide. That is one of the questions that we've got tonight, along with approval of the proposed process that we'd really like to kick off March 1st. It'd be a 45-day submission window, similar to what you do on your historical grant funds with the other. Once they complete the application process, those are all submitted over here to us, and then our staff actually will do a second check of those for compliance with the ARPA regulations. And then we would come to the board and let you know how many businesses we have that have applied. Based on the funding that you've got, you would decide then on the allocation, just like you really do with the historical funds and with the, I believe it's where the Fraser Center applies, but the other funding criteria that you have, thank you, yes, the date funds, that you would decide how much then, based on those number of businesses, you want to allocate to each business.
So does and the city of Hinesville being the largest entity, do they have money to distribute for this type?
They do, and they did.
They did.
Okay,
And we note on the application process, ask, have you received
the money
any of the
from
funds
anyone
from any
else?
other source? So that we do that. I think it's safe to say too, rather than try to recreate the wheel, and for consistency for businesses to understand, we didn't deviate much from what the city did here. There were some things that we did, I think, to make it easier for the businesses to apply based on documentation they had to submit for y'all. But we thought that'd be easier on the businesses countywide too, where they had an understanding of a general same process that was in there.
I was just wanting to make sure, I seen you had the application, I had it earlier.
Yes, ma'am, that's the other
Is
thing we'd like.
that's the first step? I have it right there.
You can submit them online as well as, they will be available to assist, sit down and assist applicants. If they come by the office, they'll be available to assist.
Okay.
Mr. Mosley,
Yes, sir.
can there be a dual application? What I meant by that, I think we talked about this earlier. If someone applies for Hinesville, can they come back and apply with the county too?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, we did.
Right now, we, based on what we understood, again, some initial discussions of the board were that they didn't want to exclude anybody, that they would like for you to be able to apply for the county funds even if you got other funds.
Because some people are trying to accumulate enough funds for their particular project. So it may take some funds from Hinesville, some funds from the county, to get that done. So we didn't want it to exclude them. They have to let us know in here that they did, so and I'm not sure. So if there's a person who's only received funds from one source, then that's a consideration for the committee, I guess, for the commission too.
Sure it would be, and something to note there too. So, the ARPA guidelines are real specific about certain things that are in here. They have to show a loss that was associated with ARPA in a designated funding source for them and show that documentation, because it will be the commission that's on the hook for audits and everything related to those funds.
Do anybody know if you put an application for Hinesville, is that for all of the county, or is it just for Hinesville?
I think it's just for
I think it was just
the
for
city.
Hinesville businesses.
So Hinesville is just for Hinesville.
Correct.
And ours would be for all of Liberty County.
It would be.
So if you get the second one, it'll be because Hinesville gave you one and we.
And that's totally up to y'all. I mean, again, there'd been some initial discussion about that, but that is a decision y'all need to make before the application window opens.
Yeah. The March 1, you hope to kick it off?
That's when we want to kick it off, and we designate on how I want to read to you, but it's, there'll be several ways that we get the word out. One obviously is through the media sources that we can do. They also have a tremendous outreach network, so, they'll blast out on their sites, we'll blast it on our sites and everything on Facebook, Chamber, we'll use our media sources obviously to get that out. That'll take a little time to ramp up, about 30 days. That's the reason, we knew the urgency of the board and wanting to be able to disseminate that, and so
People are knocking
we've been
on
trying
our
to,
doors.
as a team, push hard to hit that window for you.
Well,
I
I
was
guess, go ahead, Connie, go ahead.
I was just looking on this page 3, under the certificates of acknowledgement, it does say, is this a duplicate of, have you received from these funds from another source?
But
So is
it
that the ARPA
says-
funds? If you get it from the city, you get it from the county.
But what I think, if you read into it, so there's several items they could be, and I'm thinking of one local agency here in particular, that may have gotten funds to help with payroll for their loss. They may have gotten funds for rent, but they didn't get it for mortgage or utility or mitigation expense, so they could apply for one of those other categories.
Oh, okay, it's a different category.
Sure, with inside their business plan.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, I guess what I was gonna say, I just wanted to make sure that, that we got full coverage for everybody that wants it. And, if there's someone that hasn't gotten anything because they're not from Hinesville, and there's someone from Hinesville that's already got the one from Hinesville, and then they get their application in, and then they get the one from us, and the people that's outside of Hinesville may be a little slow applying, I would hate for the funds to be exhausted. And this organization, for example, has 2, while this person is slow trying to get one. So I guess if we're going to let them do city and county, for instance. Now, and there are other cities as well that has funds. I would think, wouldn't he? I mean,
Everybody did.
Everybody got it.
Everybody was eligible to get it.
Right.
As to whether they actually,
Decided to
signed
do it,
up and decided to draw down the funds and meet the criteria, we're not sure.
You remember,
If they have to divulge whether they've already received, and I think that I don't mind them getting it again from us, but I would like for us to just maybe only say, here it is, when we may need that for someone who hasn't gotten anything. That's just my thought. But
That's totally up to the board.
I think they should be eligible. I just don't want them to be eligible here, eligible there, and then we still got somebody that's trying to be eligible for the first time, and then it's, because it's a pool of money that's gonna
Yeah,
dry
it's
out.
hard to, we battle with several things. I'll be real quick. One was, okay, if you tried to gauge, you got some from one source, so do you get only 50% of what you requested? Or do you, trying to gauge a range in there would be terrible. The other thing would be trying to figure out if you had an open application period and you could just go until all the funds are exhausted, well, then you don't know how much to assign on the front end. Unless you want to come up front and say, okay, look, for anybody that applies, you're only going to get $1,000. Or go ahead and set the amount up front, but then when the funds are exhausted, they're exhausted, to do that. So that's the reason we were recommending an application period. And then you could look, actually, we can get you a business list. Business list, it won't be nonprofit though. But we can try to weed through a business list of potential nonprofits somehow to let you know how many are out there that could qualify. In fact, that's probably not bad for us to do, is to get that list and send a notice to them anyway, that you may be eligible. And that way we know they found out about it. We can make them aware of the 45-day window, coach them through the window to get them in there. But that's the reason we were offering a period, because
I mean, we want to help everybody, yeah. You know, so, but we wanted to be available, not, you know, this person has already got help, and then this person here's, I was going down there, and then, you know, so we need to be careful. I don't think we need to say, no, you can't do it if you already got it, but we need to try to just be careful that the ones that already got it are not in front of the ones that hadn't even gotten in it.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how we could do that, but.
Well, I don't think there will be, because if we have an open and closing period, we'll bring you the actual number that have applied, and you'll be able to see, you'll be able to see how many have applied in the closing, and so there won't be anybody that'll be discounted that way.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I feel good about it. We'll work through it.
Okay.
That's what I say, it's a work in progress.
We will definitely work through it.
And as y'all stated, this was round one, and y'all had put additional.
We can improve it for round two.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Or you may not expend all your funds in round one, and you just want to carry some over.
Okay.
Which is very possible.
Just
With the
want
amount they're
to be
allocated.
fair and equitable with everybody.
Yes, sir, I agree.
I feel good about the start. We
Yes.
could do that.
And the third thing that's on here for you that does need some action tonight, along with blessing of the plan to get it off the ground, would be approval of the contract with United Way to conduct those services. And I'm sure Ms. Hopkins will be glad to answer any questions you have on that. There is an administrative fee for that we talked about that was built in the budget. It's basically $25,000 per cycle. That's based on the anticipated expenditure of those funds, the percentage related to those.
Okay.
Okay.
And those funds are ARPA funded too?
Those funds are ARPA funded too. Right now, you've got $100,000 allocated in 2022 and $100,000 in 2023. And again, if you don't receive enough applications, or you decide to taper whatever you do with the award amount, obviously that money can roll over to some other years to keep helping some.
Kind of fluid. Chair, entertain a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we move forward with the ARPA SBA Assistance Overview as stated by Ms. Hopkins, Mr. Mosley, and Mr. Brown.
Second.
Motion is second. We approve the memorandum of understanding with United Way. Thank you for being here. Thank you for offering the service.
Thank
to
you.
us. And it's good to have somebody who's vetted most of this, so just a matter of now us adding our Liberty County piece to it. We'll move forward with phase one, and then we have to make changes in phase two. We'll do that.
We felt real good. They had a great track record already running, and then to have somebody local where these businesses can have a local contact is even better.
And I like it, they'll deal with one person. I like that too.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I like that too.
Thank
All,
you so
all,
much for
in,
the partnership.
all in favor? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
All right.
And Ms. Hopkins, since I live on Olive Street, I'm gonna stop by your office tomorrow and bring you a street sign that
That
says.
has the
You got
right.
one.
That says Olive.
Appreciate it.
We get, okay.
That's their new office.
Okay.
Hadn't been there very long.
Oh, the United Way moved over there?
Yeah, they moved over there at the Housing Authority's place on the
Yeah.
corner right there.
That used to be,
Right on the corner,
Right on the corner.
right on the corner. Time you turn in on the right-hand side.
somebody was a lawyer in that office.
It was a lawyer there for a minute.
All right, resolution
Authority.
VA Center naming.
Yes, sir, and y'all may, Commissioner Stevens may want to expand on this. I know that one of his constituents is a proponent, basically, of the resolution. Mr. Bruce McCartney submitted some material here related to trying to have board action to support a letter being sent, actually the resolution, the past resolution to be sent to Representative Williams, who would then hopefully forward that to Congressman Carter concerning the potential naming of the VA Center in Hinesville after two local Vietnam veterans, Mr. John Gibson and Mr. Dan James.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question on that. When I saw the agenda, and I think Mr. Commissioner Stevens had mentioned that at the last meeting, and I know I've been awarded, Commissioner Frazier's not here, but I was awarded a Google degree a couple of months back, if y'all recall. But, and I did Google, the VA, and those buildings are owned and, I guess, operated by the federal government. And here, you know, and please correct me if I'm wrong, fellow commissioners, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Brown, you know, when something was federal, like a state highway, you know, it's a federal highway commission, and but it's handled through the state. You know, it's state. It's Atlanta. If it's US 84 is US, but it's handled through state in Atlanta. And since the VA is federal, I would have to think that it's the state now. And I'm a proponent of giving honor where honor is due. I mean, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with this resolution, except that I do have somewhat of an issue with the commissioners, county commissioners, naming or dedicating or whatever it would be a federal building where you would think that we have veterans organizations here. I guess the VFW, the American Legion. There's a Department of Veterans Affairs. We have probably a organization for Vietnam veterans. We probably got a organization for World War II veterans, Korean War veterans, Gulf War veterans. But, and I would feel more comfortable because it's a federal building and because in our case, the state, and we have a state representative born and raised right here, that kind of handles the stuff at the state level and the federal level because it goes from the state to the feds. And you could just take, for instance, I ride around in all the state highways that run through Hinesville and Liberty County. I think that they would name in honor of someone. I'll back up a little bit, don't want to take up too much time. A friend of mine had wanted a state highway named in honor of their father. And, you know, you got 84, you got 119, you got 196, 17, you know, that runs through Liberty County, but they were all kind of already taken. And then I think we did something for Reverend Anderson down at the interchange, you know, but all this was state level or federal level. And now we got a lot of county roads that we can change the name of, this board can, and that we could do several things from the county level. But if the, for instance, if the Vietnam Veterans organization petitioned this, or if the American Legion, or whoever at that letter, if they gave that to Representative Williams, to me, that would be a little different than the Liberty County Board of Commissions, because I would take some issue if someone other than this board wanted to name something that belonged to the county, if they had a resolution to name this room, you know, that would be something that we would do as county commissioners, because that's ours. We don't need Al to handle that for us, but we do need Al to take something to Atlanta. Someone needs Al to take something to Atlanta, and Al, you know, gets that, you know, through the federal and that and I remember that the old Mills home, and people cried like babies when it was moved, but they put a nice facility there, but that's a federal building. And I just don't think that the Liberty County Commission should petition for something on the federal level. Some organization here, and we got a lot of them, are well-deserving, and these people, and along with having this Google degree, I did go on Google, and I saw these names, and I said, Vietnam has been a long time ago, and Mr. Gibson and Mr. James, they were the only two that I saw on there. So I don't believe everything on the internet, but Google hit these names right on. I checked to see how many veterans from Liberty County died in the Gulf War, but I couldn't find that. I didn't know how many veterans from Liberty County died in the Korean War. Couldn't find that. Couldn't find World War II. But again, I'll give honor where honor is due, and people deserve honors all the time. But I just don't think that the Liberty County Commission need to petition for that. That need to come from either the families of these people or an organization that represents veterans. That's just my thought. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
With me serving my time with the United States of America, that's why I am pursuing this issue for the James and the Gibson family, along with some other vets who have served their time. From my standpoint, I think it's well-deserving. No one else has thought about it, and it was brought to my attention, and that's why we are pursuing it as vets. And all we're asking this Board of Commissioners to do is start the process. It may not go anyway, but at least start the process. We say we are proud, Liberty County proud, and we need to show it to these vets. Because of all the other vet centers I have been in, it's been named after someone. And this is no more than due respect to vets, which I am one, and I'm a proud vet. And I do represent the Veterans Association also.
Well, Mr. Stevens, I'm not a vet. My father served in the military in Korea, along with Miss Thrift's father-in-law. And he'll tell me he'll never want nothing named after him. Same way as Elder Thrift. But I am in agreement a little bit with Commissioner Gillard. There was 2 places on Interstate 95 that had been renamed, or maybe more, and we were never asked to participate in that until we knew that they were going to put the ribbon across the road or the sign up. We're going to have veterans that's going to continue to go. We're all going to go one day. And there's a pile of Korean veterans, Vietnam veterans. We just lost one the other day. Mr. Ginner was a Korean and a Vietnam veteran. But I have stood by this naming things. The names will come down just like the road signs. And that building belongs to all veterans, every one of them. You have Walter Reed Hospital, and it's named for veterans. You've got the ones in Charleston, you've got the ones in Augusta and Dublin. But it's not that I don't want the time or have to fool with it. It's just that I don't think I have the right to name it. I don't think I have a right to unless we've got a group of veterans that's here, that all of these folks have gotten together, the veterans, Korean, whoever, and have decided this is who we want to name it after, and we'd like for the Board of Commissioners to do it. Not saying that you didn't do a great job going off out there and starting it going. I'm just saying I don't think it's our job to do that. I know it's not mine. Now, I don't mind it being the Veterans Administration building from now on, because I don't never have to attend it. My brother was in the Marines, my dad was in the Army. But I'm just gonna say, I think that if we had a group of veterans come for us and say that's what they want, and then I'm sure that you hit the nail on the head, it would have to be a congressional thing, a federal, a congressman that's gonna have to push it through. But make no mistake about it, it has already been talked about before. I just wanna tell you.
I'm aware of that.
And Johnny Isaacson died before he, or got out of office before it ever could be done. But that's just my feelings on it.
Is it?
They want to come forward and say, hey, this is what we want to do. We're the committee that would make the recommendation on this side. We get the names, we put it to the board, and the board could do it. But I don't feel comfortable with naming it, and I'm not going to.
Mr. Chair, it seems like this is an issue because I brought the issue up. That's more the way I feel about it, why some commissioners are sung in the way how they have. That's just my thought.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I want to say this. I think I started my my comments with I believe in giving honor where honor is due, and I'm not about to stand here and say that that these gentlemen, that honor is not due. I'm just saying that it need to be presented by another organization simply because to me, because we are the county, and we can name county buildings and county roads. That's what we do, and we do that sometime at the request of family members. My good friend, and we going for a ride in the morning, Eddie. I wanted to name. The family came to me years ago, and I know y'all remember this, to rename Spencer Garland Road, which was Castles Road. And we didn't even have a road renaming process at the time. Had Mr. Sprinkle at the time and Joey to check with other counties and see what they did. And they did, and we got with Mr. Davis. And now we have ordinance for renaming a road. And we went through that process, and the Golden family were successful in having that change. But that was a county road, and that was something that we did here within the confines of our responsibility. But we can't, Oglethorpe Highway, I don't know who named that, but I don't think that's US 84 coming through Hinesville. I don't think that the Board of Commissioners did that. I've seen signs along state highways. The Smiley guy, Russell Smiley, Jim Floyd. They're even coming off the front gate on Fort Stewart, which is part of 119. It's in honor of Carl Dykes going to McLaren's Curve. There's a McLaren's Curve sign. Going across the overpass, there's a Clarence Williams sign. None of that came from here. Now, we may have talked with the family, and that's what they wanted, but all of that was presented by our state representative because, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, the state deals with the federal a lot closer than we do, and we are the commissioners. Now, if this family or some local veterans group wanted this, then they need to present it to our state representative and let him run with it. I just don't think that that's what we need to do. And again, that's just my thought, and it has nothing to do with whose idea it was, or it has nothing to do with anything other than that. That's just my thought. That that's not, in my opinion, our responsibility.
Commissioner Thrift.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to say my sentiments also. I wouldn't feel comfortable in renaming a federal building after just these two individuals unless they all of our veterans agreed that this was the name they wanted to put on there, because we got a lot of veterans here and plan to have many more in the Liberty County area. So I just, appreciate Mr. Stevens in looking into it, but I don't think it's something that this board needs to decide on.
And I want to say, Commissioner Stevens, it's not anything personal.
No, sir.
It's never been. I hate for you to sit over and think
That's
about
just the way I feel about it.
Well, I mean, you can feel the way you
I
want
know,
to.
that's
but
just the way I feel about it, and nobody up here can change that.
I saw it more as a recommendation from the commissioners, because I know it would have to go through a process, so I saw it more as a recommendation from the commission.
But there's so many more.
To whoever the powers that be.
But, Mr. Chairman, even a recommendation for something that's federal, I don't think that should come here. Not as this body. My personally, me as a person that lives here, I may have my feelings on it, but I sat here as a commissioner, and I'm not going to say that the Liberty County Board of Commissioners need to get involved in doing that. There's already a process for doing that. There's already a process for doing that. Every state highway in here has a name. No more than we would name the next high school that's built here. No more than we would name the next baseball field, unless it's a county baseball field. But we're not going to name a school, and we're still the commissioners.
Yeah.
And we should not name a federal building,
Yeah.
and we're still the commissioners.
I think as a private citizen, you can always give input. Say, you all ought to consider naming it, XYZ. So that's more so how I saw it, as versus taking over the Fed's responsibility. So I thought we were sending a recommendation up to, I guess, Al, and he would talk to Buddy Carter and whomever, whatever the channels would be for it.
And that still could happen.
Yeah.
That still could happen. That still could happen. You could get a petition, just like when Castle's Road was renamed. Those people went out and did that, and they brought it back. And I think when we wrote the ordinance, we had to have 60% of the landowners, and they lived all over the country. And we got 6 out of 10, and we did it. Now, had we not got 6 out of 10, we wouldn't have did it, and it's still counting. But this is federal, and the members of this family or the group that Commissioner Stevens may or may not represent, or anybody else that feels this way, they can people take petitions around all the time, and you get a wheelbarrow full of signatures, and you hand it to Al, and he could do it the same way, just like he could take this paper if we signed it tonight and go there and see how it pans out. But I just my thought. I just don't think that's for us to do. That's my thought, and
Mr. Chairman, I do want to say, when this board that I was on years ago bought the old post office, and there was a new one built, they didn't go off and find somebody that was a postmaster. That would have been your uncle, right, Joey? They didn't even pick a postmaster. Nobody had ever worked in the post office. It was named for the solicitor. It was named for Sidney Flowers. And there never was ever, that I can remember, anybody said anything about it. The federal government does what they want to do. And if you name something and you got to change it, that's I mean, to me, we still talk and we sit close to one another, but he still knows my feelings on it. If you've got a name that's out there, and if it's Thrift Road, and there's a Thrift Road, and you know right where it's at, but tomorrow morning it's changed, it's going to hurt people's feelings. So, no, I'm not up here to make everybody happy, but I am going to say that this is not a personal thing. It ain't a fight, but if you want to make it one, that's just the way it'll be.
No, we're going to be.
Believe it or not.
We're going to keep it professional.
Well, I have, I'll do my best.
Thank you, sir. And it is a voting item, so
Yes, sir.
the chair entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we, just don't fool with it.
Second to that motion.
Well, I'll second the motion. The fool with it thing is
some clarification.
But I understand the sentiment, so I'll second.
With the sentiment, okay, thank you. All right. All in favor of that motion, let me know by raising your right hands that we, okay. All opposed? Okay. All right, the motion fails. We will,
It can still happen.
try to find another route.
Yeah, it can still happen, and if it's deserving, I pray it does. But that's,
Yeah, and maybe not this time, but sometime you share with me the conversation. I didn't know Senator Isaacson had already been approached about. I did not,
But the thing about it
I wasn't
is
aware of that.
when you've got the number of veterans that I've got in my district, the number of veterans that's in
Every
every
district.
district,
this is
I
Hines.
have not had one soul ask me something about it from Liberty County.
Yeah.
Never said a word about it.
Most people are so happy that we got one.
Yeah.
That's true,
I mean,
yes.
they ask.
You don't know how happy it is if you don't use it.
Do what?
You don't know how happy it is to have it if you don't use it.
Well, I know, my dad goes up there. He uses
We will pursue this another route. All right.
I know the purpose of a clinic, so I can imagine that's where my happiness comes from.
Let's move on if we
That
can.
is providing a service.
Thank you. Good conversation. Good conversation.
Okay.
Like the Democrats and Republicans, good conversation. Alcoholic beverage license, Palin Food Mart.
Yes, sir, it's an application, it's on 351 Isaac Stevens Road by Rebecca Brown. Existing location, just a new owner, beer and wine. LCPC recommended approval, meets with all their zoning criteria, and sheriff, based on background checks, their office has recommended approval also.
Seems to be a lot of change over there. Okay.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, Chair, entertain a motion.
There's a reason for that, but,
Motion that we accept.
Okay,
yeah.
I make,
we had that conversation too.
make that motion that we accept it.
Okay, second.
Second,
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand, please. All right, license is approved.
you're right back again in 6 months, but that's fine.
Okay. Lease agreement, CSRU.
Yes, sir,
What's that, before we go any further, Mr. Acronym, what's that one?
Child Support Recovery Unit.
Okay, all right,
Sorry
I got it,
about
I
that.
got it. That's tattoo for my other arm.
I'm sorry. This is a yearly event that we have to do for the state, just reapproving CSRU to lease, formally lease space in a building owned by the county. They are a state-governed agency in that, so it, again, this was before you last year. It has not changed, simply a matter of legal requirement.
Okay. Chair, entertain a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the lease agreement with the Child Support Recovery Unit.
Sounds much better than the Commissioner Gillett, than CSRU.
CSRU, okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor? All right. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Administrative reports.
Real quickly, sir, there was actually a request last year for the board to consider adoption of a holiday for Juneteenth. It is my understanding that the state is considering the same thing on their docket this year. They have not approved it. I won't mislead you, but this is something that the board was asked to consider last year by a local source anyway. So I'll bring that for your consideration.
Okay.
Got one question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Now, Juneteenth is actually on June 19th, and that we have a lot of holidays now. That no one has to guess when the 4th of July is, because that's when it is. And Christmas is always the 25th, when we celebrate that. But Thanksgiving is the 4th Thursday.
Thursday.
It could be as early as the 22nd, and it could be as late as the 28th. Labor Day is always the first Monday. It could be as early as the 1st and as late as the 7th. Okay, and Easter goes from anywhere from now to whenever. Okay, Yeah, and my birthday is always the 19th, so remember that. But Juneteenth is the 19th. And if we celebrate it on the 19th, and this year, the 19th is a Sunday, and we would take that Monday.
That's correct.
But if we're going to do it like we do Veterans Day, which is always the 11th, it doesn't matter if it's on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So, it's Juneteenth going to be the third Monday in June, or it's going to be on June 19th, which it will fluctuate every year.
Whatever the state.
Unless it's a Saturday, we'll get the Friday. If it's a Monday, if it's a Sunday, we'll get the Monday. Now,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
And Commissioner, Gibb, before I answer that question, you may not know every acronym in the book, but I couldn't have put that together.
you couldn't put that together.
I mean, those fluctuate
Yeah.
year to
Well,
year.
I mean, but I'm telling you, I mean, Veterans Day is the 11th, and if we celebrate Veterans Day whenever it is, unless it's a Saturday, we get the Friday. That's
right. So if
Juneteenth is June 19th, and I think the federal guidelines and they're available on Google, and I got the degree that I think the plan is to celebrate it on the 19th. Unless it's a Saturday or a Sunday, then you get the Monday or the Friday. So this year, it'll be a Monday. Next year, it'll be on the Monday. But as the leap year come, it'll be on a Wednesday, and that would be the holiday if we want to do it on the 19th.
So if it's on, hey, just like Christmas, for instance, that does fluctuate, excuse me, by days of the week. If you declared it a holiday for county employees, if it fell on a Saturday, it'd be observed on a Friday. If it
Right.
fell on a Sunday, it'd be observed on a Monday. It would be a day off in recognition of that, no matter when it fell. So if it was on a Sunday, they would get a day for Monday.
Well, across the street earlier, the city adopted it, and I think, that they didn't go into the detail that I just went to, but I think that they're agreeing that it's going to be June 19th, whenever it is, whether it's a Saturday, Sunday, then they make the adjustment, but it's going to be the 19th, so you could work Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and if the 19th is that Thursday, you will get Juneteenth off if you recognize it as a holiday. And that's the way it should be, because it is Juneteenth.
That's right.
Just like the 4th of July.
Yeah, the only day you wouldn't take the actual day off is if it fell on a Saturday or Sunday.
Right, but you'll get the Friday or the Monday instead. Okay. I'm for it.
I'm for it.
I just need a motion and a second.
Yes, I make a motion.
Add that to the policy.
All right.
I make a motion that we change the policy for the county offices to be recognized June 19th as Juneteenth holiday.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I think we had enough discussion.
Well, I do want to say one thing now. With budgeting, Joey, and our budget don't start again to July, and if we just easing in another holiday right here, and anybody that works, we budget for X amount of holidays in the county, and the guys that work get holiday pay, I guess. And now we got an extra day, and somebody is going to work that day.
Yeah.
And that needs to be considered, so that there's going to be some extra funds that we need to consider. And I'm thinking that because my guys in Public Works, we get 11 holidays, and according to City Council, we get 12 now, and we did not budget for 12,
Right.
but we're going to take 12, and that time and a half, or that double time, has got to come from somewhere.
Will cause an extra budget, and there are one or two departments that automatically get overtime for working holidays, so that's one impact. The other will be
It will.
if somebody has to cover for somebody who has to take a day off later on to observe the holiday because they had to work on the holiday. So, yeah, it will definitely, yes, sir.
Fund balance.
Yeah.
Okay. State court surcharge?
Did we vote? We just needed to,
Yeah, we voted. I'll second
voted.
it. I second it.
I made the motion, he seconded it.
that's right. And then all in favor?
I thought we
Yeah,
did.
that was, okay, I'm sorry.
That came right after the child support this year.
That stands for the child support.
Recovery
That's
unit.
the child support recovery unit.
Get it right.
Yeah.
CSRA is what?
No-
There is nothing like that.
Come
Y'all
on,
remember
y'all.
what COVID was?
Association, I guess.
Is,
There's one.
I about forgot it.
Not that's been talked about here tonight, is it? Okay. All right.
Coastal Rivers.
State court surcharge.
Yes, sir. I guess it was last year, we were trying to look at a way to be able to fund some software improvements actually for public service agencies, and some of those are pretty expensive. One that comes to mind we've been trying to fund for several years is a law enforcement package that has a continuing cost. We also have the need in 911 for some things. Looking back at how those were funded, actually, the City of Hinesville, several years ago by ordinance, put on a $24 per offense to its misdemeanor cases to help fund those needed technology improvements. Now, you have a technology fee that's applied to felony cases that was put in really by the legislature. But this one that I'd like to see if you wanted me to forward something to Representative Williams to try to adopt by legislative action is to put something on state court fines that could help this board in alleviating some budgeted expense to get to the software we need for some of those public service agencies, public safety agencies. I did talk to the state court judge. He supports it wholly. Difference, obviously, between us and the cities. Cities do things by ordinances. We do have to have local legislation introduced to have it put on as a state court charge. But I didn't know what the board's feeling on that was. I certainly didn't want to go forward and try to do anything without the board's approval to do that. Again, it's been pretty successful over there at the city. Our state court side, those cases are escalating very much to do that. And the state court judge and I talked about that a little bit, but not necessarily in relation to this. But anyway, this was an increase. Actually, it's a $4 charge. They already had a $20 in effect, but this is a technology surcharge for $4. His recommendation, and mine too, would be about a $4 surcharge to go on those offenses.
Would that be a first offender or any offender?
It would apply to any charge that the state court levies if they levy a charge. And there are so many ins and outs of that too, as to whether charges are levied or not, or whether they have a first offender and some of that. But if they did levy a fine, it would be a fine add-on of $4.
So let's just say, for instance, that the individual gets caught speeding and he's got to go to state court, but he says, wait a minute, just $85. Is that $85 going to be on the ticket, or he can just walk in up there and pay it ahead of time on credit card and not have to pay the $4, or would that $4?
It would be on both. That's correct. It'd be already figured in.
So the sheriff is everybody's jailed on it. Everybody knows what will happen. I mean.
Yes, sir. I've had discussion.
Deputy stops him out there and he says, hey, your bond's this amount,
Yeah.
and it'll all be included.
That's correct. It would all be included in there.
I guess you could, I guess it'll be on the ticket, it'll say,
It'll just be, because as the deputies, and you say, how much is the offense?
Yeah.
And so the $85 has some stuff built in it also. And so it would just be $4 more, instead of $85, it'd be $89.
that's kind of like when you go get a motel room, they tell you,
It's already
$25, and then you get through, you got.
$135.
All those fees.
It'll be on a bottle of water, $3.60.
Chair, entertain a motion for $4 surcharge.
I made the motion that we implement it with the, you've got a letter there from the judge that says what he'd like to do, then I'd say let's go ahead with it.
Yes, sir. And really, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, a motion, if your motion can be to go ahead and get with the county attorney to draft a resolution for board approval, because you'll need to approve a resolution to send that forward to Representative Williams.
Okay.
If that's okay.
I second the motion.
Okay. That is your motion, sir?
What was the motion now?
Yeah.
Ask the county attorney to draft a resolution imposing a $4 surcharge on criminal offenses in state court.
Okay, and I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Any opposed? Thank you.
Jeffrey
Vincent?
said, or Judge Osteen said they're doing it already in some of the other counties, or is that just something that?
Yeah,
Somebody else is doing it. I remember that reading
I
that.
mean, I know some others are doing it.
Yeah, we're not the
Well, I
first.
know that you
City,
said the city
yep,
announced
yep,
it, but I
yep.
just wondered
Yeah.
if that's something that
Yeah.
all state court judges have gotten together and decided.
I don't know if all, but
Not really. I mean, I called him and said, listen, this is something we have found that could be a way to finally help the board, help these agents.
vaccination incentive?
Just a copy, y'all authorized this before, just wanted you to see the official form that employees would use to sign up to potentially receive the incentive check for $200. Did want to tell you that Hinesville Pharmacy has agreed to basically check to make sure that they did in fact get the vaccines. They have an online portal to the state, so when an employee presents the card in confidentiality, it'll be copied and those get sent over to Hinesville Pharmacy for their check to do that. So I just wanted you to see the formal process that we will start to kick off immediately, really.
I was gonna ask
I
you.
wanted y'all to see the form before we actually started, so I know you authorized it, but I want to give you full view of everything there. And HR will administer that with all the departments.
That's sort of,
HR looked at it too, Jerry?
Yes, they actually helped develop it.
Okay, all right.
and Mr. Chairman, I mean, Joey, and that's the ones who've received it and the ones that's planning on going to receive it.
Well, it would be you'd have to have, in the cycle, as of right now, to be fully vaccinated, you'd have to have both
Both of them.
basic plus a booster.
Okay. And anybody that hadn't had nothing, they need to get all of that.
Need to
Then
get
they'll
on
be-
board.
Right, that's right. And that's the reason we want to get to them, as I hear it. We've already briefed the department heads, so, about, here's where it's going to kick off, and, it won't necessarily close, the period won't close. I mean, if
Right.
you get, it's going to have to be spaced out based on when you get your shots in the 6 months.
Commissioner Stevens?
That's only for regular employees and not elected officials? I just want to get it clear.
Right now, it's proposed to be for full-time or permanent part-time.
Okay.
Now, that's subject to whatever the board wants.
No, I was just asking
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
clarification.
No, I know. I just, whatever y'all want to do, though, it's,
I wouldn't do that for
No.
commissioners.
But you do have some full-time, elected officials, right?
Yeah.
you do. They're not classified as employees of the county.
Okay.
Certainly whatever the board wants to do.
No, I just,
I mean, there
I just
were,
wanted to get it
I mean,
Yeah.
clear, that's all.
there were those that, they were there.
I say, I never thought about a constitutional officer.
As a full-time employee?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not classified as full-time.
Well, good. All right, they're not.
They're not
okay.
classified.
All right,
Okay.
What about the volunteers?
Will not involve volunteers.
got to be employed.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Emergency declaration of COVID-19 protocols.
Yes, sir. This is really a ratification by the board of a resolution supporting that declaration of local state of emergency that had to be put into effect due to the numbers. Kelly's unavailable tonight. He's under the gun there a little bit, but he did do a chart in here. This is pretty interesting. Actually through January 14th, it did go up a little bit after the 14th again. If you look at the CRC website, it's actually a little bit of an anomaly today with a note that's on it. It exceeded 3,000, but that's because some cases from 5 days had not been reported, and so they were piled into 1 day's reporting. So this is a pretty accurate guide of what's going on still for a gradual increase. Tell you the hospitalizations are stable, but Liberty Regional was full last week again. Luckily not with as many ventilated patients, but still with sick patients.
Understood.
EMS also affected with trip runs and trip times because of waiting times at the facility for leaving folks there too.
I think we all know the school system is affected by it.
They sure are.
Yeah, they're virtual now.
So again, I know I had sent an email out, and this just ratifies exactly what was in that email for the board. Most importantly, too, it allows you to do things virtually in some cases for your meetings, and if necessary, it allows you to limit attendance like we're having to do right now at these meetings more than anything. Most of the other stuff that's embedded in there regarding employees and workplaces, the commission really has authority to do any time. But Kelly felt like this document was necessary for the others.
So, Mr. Chairman, on item 6, is that, we are going to back to just, as far as our attendance here in this room?
Yes, ma'am, we actually put that notice out, and I'd address it better for that, but only those folks on the agenda at the current time.
Okay. And does this, when COVID first come out, we had the 10-day period. Then I think it went to 7, now it's to 5.
It's 5.
Is that correct?
It's 5.
That's not mentioned, that's just.
No, ma'am,
like in
it's
our
not mentioned
policy.
here. I will tell you that, and it'll be good for them to see that chart if you can help me remember, that HR developed and we update every time CDC changes. It's actually a guide chart for departments to use on when the call comes in and what to do, so we try to keep that updated. But no, ma'am, it's not embedded.
Okay, all right. We need a motion to approve this back in place?
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion, we implement the emergency declaration for COVID-19 protocols.
Second. We're really making this retro, is that the word?
Well, it's really to ratify.
Ratify, that's the word, ratify.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, all right. Yeah, announcement, sir?
Just real quickly, and I think you were notified of this, we do have 2 vacancies on the.
I just saw that in here. Yeah.
Those are being advertised, Mr. Victor Shanks and Miss Camilla Medina Riviera. So those are being advertised. The positions would fill the unexpired terms of those folks.
Okay.
So it's back on that side now?
It is back on that side, yes, ma'am.
Bring it on. Bring it on. We can do it right now.
I hope they learned something from over here.
We can do it right
I
now.
hope y'all learned something from over here now.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I do have one question. Joey, and I know we have a lot going on, and we had, with the COVID and everything, we had talked about, and the ARPA money. I know we had talked about, at least I was under understanding, and, that we had raised, the pay, like the entry-level pay. We never did that.
No, sir. No, sir. If you remember, what we talked about is we've got a study that we've engaged UGA for that. And so UGA is projected to start on that in March, and they'll have it in time for your budget to be able to go in there and do that, because it will affect the whole pay scale when you move that.
You think they still celebrating from the football game that they gonna let it slip by? I mean, because we really need to do that. I mean, Kim can stand there, her and Laura, and talk about it's 2022. I mean, it's 2022 down at the road department too.
I know it.
And I mean, and things are tough. I mean, we're in a recession. A lot of people don't like the R word, but we're in a recession, and they put it on the news. But all you gotta do is go to the grocery store. Tide detergent,
meat,
Charmin bathroom tissue. Everything, everywhere you go, the cost is there, and and we got them guys that's been standing with us for 2 years through this thick and thin.
Well, and you remember,
and working harder because of the vacancies, So I don't know what UGA is going to say, and I don't know who they're going to measure us against. But we have a pretty good feel of what it takes to live in Liberty County, and we have a real good feel of what our people in Liberty County do. So Georgia may say that up in Athens, but we know these guys, and we could take and whatever they give us, they're not giving it to us on a tablet like Moses got that's hammered and chiseled that can't change. It's not etched in stone. So we can take that as a guideline, but we could roll up our sleeves and hammer that out ourselves.
more so, Commissioner Gilliard, the consistency of the plan document itself, not so
understand that.
much that, yes or no, sir. I mean, if you move the bottom, there's a ripple effect, although it not be the same ripple effect throughout the plan. But there's a reason in those plans that you have separation between grades. And so one grade moves, I mean, and that's the reason to have a
Yeah.
professional to do that.
All that's fine, but somebody's going to the store tomorrow to get a loaf of bread. And, okay.
Process has started.
It
So
has.
will we have the other, you say we will have
One thing
now
that UGA.
EMS
one
and
thing that-
fire? We'll have EMS and fire.
In February.
In February.
As we said, yes, sir. If you remember, there was some concern over the firefighters. We engaged UGA to do that study, and then when we absorbed, when we took on EMS, there was not a pay scale system there. And so what we had to do was start from scratch there and fill out applications and go through that whole process. They have pretty much wrapped that up, and Mr. Mosley will do a presentation on that.
But let me ask one question. UGA study and our HR person and you and Mr. Mosley, don't y'all think y'all are capable of, like Commissioner Gillett says, stepping in and
Doing that? No,
and
sir.
doing what's necessary?
No, sir. Not at all. Not from a time perspective or a professionalist perspective. And the reason I would tell you too, that counties get in trouble doing their own plans, and some do, some don't have plans, is that they get sued and they don't have a professional that has done that is not a member of the organization, that doesn't.
All right, last question, Mr. Chair. Let's say we brought on EMS, we brought on fire. Let's say with the UGA study, comes back and somehow or another we are paying somebody too much money compared to UGA. What do you do then?
They don't move, they stay there.
Can't take it back.
But you can't take it back.
No, sir. And that's happened in some departments that are really not under your purview. The problem is, though, they get placed out on the scale pretty far, and we have 2 individuals that don't work for you that are topped out on that scale because they were making significantly more than what anybody was making in their jobs. So, but no, sir, they don't move. They don't go lower. They just don't qualify for anything
else
for merit, correct? They're only affected then if COLAs come in, cost of living that moves the scale, actually.
Are the people from UGA, they gonna handle that from Athens, or they gonna come here and
No, they
ride
come
around?
here.
They gonna come here? Yeah, call me, I wanna take one on for a ride.
Yeah, they don't actually, now, we're not changing jobs. We're not reevaluating jobs. All we've told them is we want to have a minimum starting wage, no less than $15 an hour.
Prorate everybody.
Yeah, okay.
And that's been the goal, so we're not reevaluating a complete plan.
I want the guy that works for Carl Vincent to grab a shopping cart, and we go into Kroger and push it down those aisles and go check out before he give us his report.
Went to buy the oil the other day, it had gone up 3 times what it used to be.
Exactly.
Just to fry some chicken.
Okay.
All right, it's over to the order. Chair, the motion to adjourn.
So
So
move.
move, Mr. Chairman. Second.
All in favor?
All right.